The Rockies need my help. Badly. After losing 119 games in 2025, they have brought me in to redefine this franchise. But that is going to be a hell of a lot easier said than done because this lineup is pretty bad, and this pitching rotation is just straight up awful. Not to mention there's some horrendous contracts on the books, and I'm going to be capping our salaries at $100 million for this video. It's going to be a challenge, but before this video ends, we will win a World Series title. Just before we jump in today, if I could ask if you enjoyed this video to leave a like and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subs before MLB The Show 26. Okay, let's actually dive in. The first thing that we're going to need to do this year is clean up the books. We need to trade away guys like German Marquez and Austin Gomber, who are going to be free agents. And that'll cut $16 million into the $20 million that I need to get rid of before the end of this season in order to get under our threshold. We might also be able to trade Kyle Farmer, who's going to be a free agent, but I doubt that he's going to be performing well, and I'm not sure anyone's going to want him. We'll keep an eye on him, and we're also going to keep our eye on Kyle Freeland and Antonio Senzatella. If either one of these guys performs well, they are definitely going to need to get traded. There are some guys who want to build around, like Ezekiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle. Tovar is already on a very team-friendly deal, and with a potential great defense and speed, should be a nice piece of the infield. And he can hold down short until Ethan Holliday is ready to come up, although Holliday can play third, so that might be a nice tandem on the left side of the infield with him and Tovar. And the last big name that we'll want to extend here is Brenton Doyle, who has great defense and speed in the outfield. He's already a two-time Gold Glover, and defense and speed in the outfield is going to be one of my focuses for this video. Colorado presents an interesting challenge with being a mile high and the stadium being huge. The outfield is very large and the ball flies. So we definitely want to get athletes in the outfield who can track it down. You're not going to find many better than Brenton Doyle. Chase Dollander is the most promising pitching prospect, but he has low home runs per 9, and that is going to be a focus of this video. You know that I typically look for walks per 9 and hits per 9, which I still will, but I also am going to add an extra wrinkle of looking for pitchers with good home runs per 9. We want to try to limit that in Colorado, and for now, Chase Dollander is going to start in the minors because we are going to be bad, and I don't want to use his service time. I think the only other guys to mention here up front are Hunter Goodman and Jordan Beck. They are promising, especially Goodman, who had 31 home runs this year as a catcher. So we'll want to keep an eye on those guys and maybe build around them, along with a couple other prospects coming up. You've got Warming Bernabel, Yanquiel Fernandez, and Adael Amador. So yeah, the Rockies are pretty bad, and first and foremost, we need to make these trades, clean up the payroll, and this season we're going to focus on that as well as scouting and drafting to get some good talent in the system. I'm just setting up the training that I want these players to go through, and I noticed something interesting. Look at the hitting stats for German Marquez. He doesn't have any secondary positions, and I don't think he's considered a two-way player, so I don't think I can put him in the lineup, but very interesting to see this. I'm pretty excited to do just a fairly standard rebuild here. The only real restriction is with the budget. As always, I'm going to discover and scout starting pitchers by region, and my plan for the position players is really to draft the best player available to me. Besides pitchers, though, looking at our depth chart down the line, we've got some good options for the left side of the infield, but we're going to need to look at first base and second base for sure. And then, as I mentioned, we want to find guys with good outfield defense. Center field Marlon Jackson might be a good choice if he can play the corners. I'm going to really need to reshape the bullpen from where it currently stands, and thankfully we just discovered a promising-looking closer, so we'll definitely check in on Ross Del Villar. I've been getting some trade offers, but none of them have been good so far. For example, the Rangers are offering me Sean Armstrong, but I don't want to trade for a reliever that doesn't have any team control after this season. So we'll keep looking and see what else comes through. Meanwhile, I did decide to scout Marlon Jackson, and he can play the corner outfields and looks pretty good. So between him and Wendell Daly, I think I know what I'm doing in the first round. And about 60 games into the season, we are 18 games under 500. As expected, we are terrible. We haven't found many good discovery position players yet, but I will check on Alfredo Leon just to see. And after 1 week, Leon moved way up the board, so we're going to finish his profile for sure. All right, now we're talking. The Guardians are looking for a starter, and they are willing to offer me left-handed reliever Sam Hentges, who has 2 more years of team control, and his home runs per 9 is at 62. I think that's passable. He's still got room for growth. I'm going to accept this deal. And surprisingly, the bullpen is actually performing well. I see quite a few ERAs in the 3s, and I know for sure that I'm going to want to extend Jimmy Herget. This guy's stats look great. They call him the human glitch. He's got a funky release, and I like Jimmy, so he'll probably stay here for a couple of seasons. But we have still got some more moves to make, so hopefully some other good deals come across the line. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go find them myself. Kind of a disappointing draft class, to be honest. I would like to take Marlon Jackson first overall, but I doubt that he's going to fall because of how thin the class is. And then after that, I got a couple discovery guys that I'd be interested in, and then some sort of mid-round picks. And as always, we've got a bunch of starters to choose from. Bobby Woodson could also be my first-round pick. And then later on, I'll look at somebody like Dan Cerna or Derek Rodriguez. And after that, we get into all of our discovery options, which frankly are not that great. Let's see where the chips fall with the first overall pick. A starter's off the board. Ooh, that is a reach by the Angels. I did want Derek Rodriguez. We're not going to be able to get him. And now a catcher for the third pick. And that means my favorite option, Marlon Jackson, is still here. Switch hitting outfielder. Perfect pick for us. We are going with Marlon. I was planning to take a pitcher in the second round here, but all the guys that I like have fallen off the board. So we're going to go with another outfielder here. Different profile than the last guy, but also a switch hitter. And Alfredo Leon is going to be my second pick. We're going to go back for another outfielder here during competitive balance round B. Ian Matheson, I don't think he's great, but he should have decent potential, and I don't have many better options. And you know what? This entire draft might be outfielders. It's just the best guys that I could find. Discovery center fielder Raul Urban has the defense and speed that I'm looking for. The plate skills are bad, but I don't have any better options. And finally, I am going to take a starter here in the next round in Will Diaz. He does not have good walks per 9 at all, but he does have good hits per 9 and home runs per 9, and at the very least could be some trade bait for us. And we'll grab another starter here, Dane Montano, who does not have a great ceiling, but he does have the stats that I'm looking for. Seems to be a little more well-rounded. And to keep things on theme, we are going to finish off this draft with another outfielder. To my surprise, Thairo Estrada is our all-star, and that says about everything you need to know. The fact that a guy with a 657 OPS is our best player. Let's take a second to check in on the player statistics here. I haven't looked at this yet all season, and I do see that Mickey Moniak is playing pretty well with a 797 OPS, but that is our only guy above 665. Oh my god. There are a couple positives in the bullpen, definitely starting with Sam Hentges, who we traded for, and then you've got Jimmy Herget, who I called out before. Bradley Blaylock is also having some success, and he has 81 home runs per 9. I'm thinking that might be correlated. Speaking of starters, Antonio Senzatella is actually pitching fairly well, and this is a good opportunity for us to get out of this contract. Looking around the league, most of the options are for a reliever, and I actually am very interested in Mitch Spence because he has enough stamina to be a starter. He's pitching very well this season, and he's got 5 more years of team control. I am going to take this deal in a heartbeat. And with that, we're almost under $100 million for our budget. I need to trade either Gomber or Kyle Farmer to get there. It's time for contract extensions here, and I know that I want to build around Brenton Doyle out there in center field, so I'm going to go ahead and offer him 5 years at $15.7 a year, and he'll be holding it down. I want to extend Sam Hentges too, but he's a little too pricey for me right now. Going through the guys on the trading block ahead of the deadline, someone has piqued my interest. Tyler Soderstrom is on the board. They're looking for a starter reliever and a third baseman, and I've got a package here that fits exactly that. Gomber is pitching not that great, but he is in Colorado, which is a hitter-friendly park. I would expect he'd do better in Sacramento. And shockingly, Kyle Farmer is actually an upgrade for them at third base. Throw in a reliever on top of that, and I think that both sides are going to like this deal. Soderstrom has some positional flexibility as well. He can play the corner outfields, but I don't like his defense out there, and I think for now I'm going to have him DH instead of Mickey Moniak. And we'll let Warming Bernabel continue to hold it down at first. So now we're definitely under our budget number, and I think we've made our outlook a lot better in the coming seasons. I don't have a lot of confidence here as we go to view our draft picks, and that's a little bit better than I thought. Marlon Jackson is as advertised, and he looks to be really close to MLB ready at 74 overall. I'll let him improve in the minors for a year or so, but he is going to be a big part of our outfield. Alfredo Leon's got 84 potential, and he also looks pretty good on the offensive side, but not so much on the defense. And I can say basically the exact same thing about Ian Matheson. That was 3 outfielders in a row, and now our 4th consecutive outfielder, Raul Urban, does have a high ceiling at 93, but he is more of a project. And our 5th outfielder down here at the bottom, Ray Hernandez, is probably not going to make the majors. Out of the 2 pitchers that we got, I think Will Diaz is probably the worst of the 2. The walks per 9 is just most likely not going to cut it. But we'll get him in the farm system and see how he develops. And then Dan Montano does not look too bad. He's fairly well-rounded, and he came in at 80 potential, 64 overall. He might be a decent pitcher. Well, we finished this season 55 and 107, which is abysmal and actually still somehow better than the real-life Rockies. 76 overall, Mickey Moniak was our best hitter, and followed by Tyler Soderstrom, who we traded for before the deadline. Nobody else was above a 700 OPS, which is really disappointing. Kyle Freeland and Mitch Spence were passable in the starting role, as well as Ryan Feltner, who I'll probably bring back for one more year. We'll have to see. But outside of that, it's time to simmer this offseason, and I am going to totally transform this roster. And we're also going to hire all new coaching staff that'll at least be a benefit to the team, as opposed to negatives on all the attributes. Right now, we've got 96 players on our roster, but a ton of guys are Rule 5 eligible, and I'm only going to protect a handful of them, so we are going to be releasing a lot of dudes right out of the gate here. And I really want to just tear this thing apart and rebuild it from the ground up, so we're only going to offer a handful of guys arbitration, and I'll probably either trade or just let go of the rest of the guys. And after I sort those things out, we'll come back to free agency in a minute. Even though Mickey Moniak was our best hitter last season, he's asking for $7 million in arbitration, which I'm not willing to do, so we are going to trade him for an infield prospect. The Padres are offering me Cash Mayfield, a starter for Thairo Estrada and Sam Hilliard, but I don't want to take advantage of the CPU here. This would be in division, and I think that is not fair. So instead, we'll trade these guys for another infield prospect here, Emil Morales. And that'll be the only trades I make here for the ARB guys. The rest of these dudes do not have any value. In free agency this year, we are going to look to sign No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to sign Kyle Tucker. We are going to be bargain hunting. Going to be looking for maybe a starter as well as some help at second base and maybe somebody in the outfield. As far as the starters, I see Michael Lorenzen available, and he is 34, but he did improve last year. He's not asking for a whole lot of money, so we'll throw him on the board. And the other guy I'm interested in right now is Austin Slater to play outfield and especially hit against lefties, so we'll throw him on the board. I think between Slater and Tyler Freeman, we could have a nice little tandem in right field. Freeman can hit righties, Slater can hit lefties. And by the way, Tyler Freeman actually won the Gold Glove last year, so we're going to bring him back. Lorenzo was interested right away, so I went ahead and lowballed him for 1 year at $3.3 million, and we'll see how he does. He could become a good option to trade at next year's deadline. All right, Lorenzen is in on the first try. I've decided that I need to trade Kyle Freeland to free up this money for our budget here. He actually pitched very well. A 4.02 ERA in Coors is pretty solid, but I can find pitching for cheaper than what we're paying him, and the Rays are looking for a starter, and they are loaded at second base, so I'm going to trade them for Richie Palacios, who is going to be renewable for a couple more years, and at least is going to hit lefties okay. So that helps me get a little bit of breathing room to bring in some other guys for next season. All right, Slater's up to 63%, and we are going to lowball him as well and just offer him 1 year. Okay, decision time for Austin Slater, and he is in. I'm now looking for somebody to play third base, and here is an interesting one. Munetaka Murakami is in this roster. Now, the game's a little broken here. He's only asking for 2 years, $70,000, and normally I wouldn't take advantage of this, but there are no international free agents in this game, and I really want to see what Murakami's got. We were the worst team in the league last year, so let's get rewarded and get this first pick. This is kind of a big part of this offseason. Please don't screw me too badly. Okay, we got the first pick. And now it's time to head to the Rule 5 draft. Let's see what we can find here. Right away, I see Javier Assad, a starter on a very cheap 2-year deal with 2 more years of team control after that. That is very intriguing. There are definitely some other good options that I'm going to want to come back around to, but no doubt Javier Assad will be my first pick. Let's go ahead and grab Tyson Miller, who has elite walks per 9 and the home runs per 9 is above 70, and he has got 5 years of team control, and he's still on a renewable contract. Catcher Joe Mack is here. He's 23 with B potential. That feels like a steal, and this is going to be my last pick in the draft. Looking for some more guys to fill out the roster and specifically the bench next year. I see Jared Kelenic on the board with B potential. Could be a good reclamation project. Let's get him on the board. All right, Murakami. Beautiful. Welcome to the team. And right after that, Kelenic, not ready yet. So we'll go ahead and try that again. And this time he's in. Well, here is our lineup for next season with new additions, Munetaka Murakami, as well as Austin Slater, who's going to hit versus lefties. We've also got a revamped pitching rotation headlined by Michael Lorenzen, and we're going to give Chase Dollander a shot here in the majors. After that, we've got Javier Assad, Mitch Spence, and Ryan Feltner coming back. This is definitely going to be another rebuilding year, though, as we went 8-20 in spring training, and I'm just focusing on continuing to build up a good farm system and slowly make the Major League roster better and better. And lastly, before we jump into this year, our budget is sitting at $98 million, so $2 million below our threshold. I can't quite justify getting rid of Chris Bryant just yet, but if he starts to regress, I'm going to go ahead and designate him for assignment. We'll see if somebody picks him up, but we're probably going to be liable for these salaries. Another big part of this season is how will our prospects develop. Ethan Holiday is going to be in Double-A playing his first professional games this season, and then we've got Marlon Jackson, our draft pick from last year. He's starting right away in Triple-A. I also forgot about Charlie Condon and Cole Carrick, who are prospects on our team. They might be coming up to the show at some point. So we get this season going where we open up against St. Louis and we lose both games. We do come back to win the series against Cleveland, and I see here that Javier Assad had a good first start. And after that, we would win the series against Washington, and then we've won 2 of 3 against the Mets, so we're actually 6-4 to start the year. And I'm so excited for scouting and drafting this season because we have got the number 1 pick, so I can take anybody that I want. I also want to do better with the starting pitchers this draft because we did not get too many good ones last draft. I believe I have found a generational third baseman here. Mackenzie Acevedo has really good hitting stats as well, and I think this will be the guy I take in round 1. And that's great to figure that out by week 3, so I have plenty of time to try to look for some gems elsewhere in the class. And just about a month into the season, we are really just going back and forth. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. That has been the story of things so far. Early signs show that Jared Kelenic is hitting very well in his platoon role, and Tyler Soderstrom is having a good year. I also see Hunter Goodman with an OPS almost at 800. That is a great sign. Tovar and Doyle are also playing better, and there's Munetaka Murakami. He's got 4 homers in 25 games, which is not bad at all. Tyson Miller has not given up a run in 11 innings, and our best starter so far has been Javier Assad. Unfortunately, Jimmy Herget is off to a bad start this year, and I signed him for 2 years. So hopefully he turns that around, but most of the guys are pitching decent, although Dollander, still room for improvement here. I did throw Lorenzen on the trading block, but if we stay competitive like this, he might just remain on the roster. And scouting is already going much better because we found that guy who I think is generational, and we also discovered the 3rd-ranked pitcher in the class. Hopefully he's good when I get to Scouting Central. Things keep getting better and better as Lawrence Petit is a gem. However, I don't think we'll be able to get him with that 39th or 40th pick. He's risen up the board too much. In the middle of May, we win 5 straight to put us 6 games above 500, but we're still way down in the division. Everybody's playing well. And that is another thing about rebuilding the Rockies is that you've got to play in the NL West. But this is why there's a wild card, and right now we're in the last spot. After that nice stretch, though, we started to lose once again, and now we're only 2 games above 500 and 10 games out of first place. And we're actually fairly competitive right now, which I didn't expect this season, so I'm going to try to make a trade. We've got a little bit of trade capital from last year's draft. We've got these 2 outfielders who are projects, but they might be able to get us a decent starting pitcher. My first thought was to bring in Michael Wacha, but he's a little bit too expensive at $17 million per year. How about something even better? The Marlins are looking to shed some payroll and add to their farm system. They are willing to give me Sandy Alcantara, who's on a pretty team-friendly deal. He's going to come in and immediately be our ace. And of course, right after I make that move, we lose 4 straight, including 2 to the Marlins who were selling. We can't decide if we want to be good or bad this season because after that, we now go on to 4-game sweep the Dodgers. And they're 47-29 in first place in our division, so that is a good sign. I am feeling a lot better going into the second draft of this video, not only because we pick at number 1, but because we found Mackenzie Acevedo. There's a pretty good chance that he's generational. If not, he's probably going to have high 90s potential, and his bat looks about as good as I've ever seen. No doubt I'll be taking him number 1 overall, and then I've got a good list of other position player prospects that I would love to take here too. Some of them are discovery, so I might be able to get him in the late rounds. And there's a fair amount of pitchers as well. Nobody amazing on the discovery side, but a couple in the 20s and 30s ranking. So let's get this started, and right away, Mackenzie, you are a Rocky. As I expected, Lawrence Pettit got taken way early, so we will not be able to get him. That would have been my number 1 choice in the second round. I also see a pitcher that rose way up the board, got taken at 27th. I wanted to get to Hara as well. I'd really like to make these next 2 picks count because we pick back-to-back at 39 and 40. It's a tough call. There's nobody that I really want at this point, and I think I just need to go with another position player here. Defensive first infielder Dave McGill is going to be my second-round option. And now for our next pick, I will go ahead and take my favorite starter here, Aaron Ventura, guaranteed high potential. I'm going to go back to the infield and take Bob Zimmerman here with the next pick. He's a totally different build than Acevedo. He is defense first, and the bat is passable, but I like him in this pick. I want to grab another starter for the farm system, and even though Decker has low walks per 9, he does have the high home runs per 9, and I think he's my favorite option left. It looks like nobody discovered Steve Garcia or Tom Garral in the outfield. We took a ton of outfielders last year, but I do like Steve Garcia, so I'm going to take him here. And I'm not as thrilled about Tom Garral, even though he has a good potential range, so I'm going to go back for another starter, this time low home runs per 9, but better walks per 9, Rod Roberts. That ends the 2026 draft. I'm feeling pretty good about things. Mitch Spence is an all-star this year. He is having an exceptional season with a 2.41 ERA, 8-2 in his starts. And it looks like he was our only representative, so shout out to Mitch Spence. At the halfway point, we continue to play pretty well, 5 games above 500, and we're a half game behind the Braves in the wild card. I think Joe Mack has definitely secured his spot as our backup catcher for now behind Goodman because he is making all his plate appearances count. Things are working out with Kelnick and Soderstrom, and I see Brenton Doyle here is having a great year. He's developing very nicely, and he's doing much better at the plate. We know Spence and Miller are killing it, as well as Sandy, who we traded for, and Lorenzen's pitching nicely too. He's starting to regress, but I have no plans on trading him with how competitive we are this year. Unfortunately, Chase Dollander is our worst pitcher, but I don't have any other options, so he needs to stay up in the majors for now. I just realized that I was cheating this whole time. Our budget is above $100 million after trading for Sandy Alcantara. I thought I had room for that, but I'm going to have to remove him. In one of the more confusing moves of all time, we are turning around and trading Sandy Alcantara for Emerson Hancock. I only noticed that because I wanted to see how much room I had in the budget to bring in a reliever to shore up the middle relief roles. Tim Herron was on the trading block, and I see that he has got elite home runs per nine. He's got some team control left, so I'm going to trade Michael Toglia for him. Toglia has some power, but I don't really plan to use him in this rebuild with Soderstrom and Bernabel now on the squad. So now we've poached two really good relievers from the Guardians. I wasn't really planning on acquiring many players at this point in the rebuild and going for it, but we'll see how Tim Herron does. I would really like to extend Hunter Goodman's contract, but we're just not going to be able to afford it until we get Chris Bryant off the books. And I would say the same thing for Warming Bernabel, who's improving at the plate, but I see that he's dead even on WAR. Kind of confused by that. He's got decent stats all across the board, so not sure what's going on there. Well, we've fallen back close to 500 and now 3 games out of a wild card spot, but in good news, we do get to view our draft picks, and Mackenzie Acevedo is as advertised. I just uploaded a video about how to find generational prospects, and Mackenzie Acevedo reminds me exactly of a prospect I found there. It's kind of a generational fake-out type prospect. But he is still an excellent player. The bat skills are unbelievable, but he does project as a DH or maybe a second baseman. There is room to work on that defense for sure. Dave McGill was a little disappointing, 80 potential, 55 overall. I still think there's some good bones of a decent player here, but he's too far away. The good news is that Aaron Ventura looks good, and I'm glad I took him in that spot to get a pitcher that I can believe in the future. Bob Zimmerman is a project at 52 overall, but he does have the defense that he was showing, elite levels of defense at third base. And really, projects is the theme of this draft here. A lot of young players who have high ceilings but lower potential. I did miss out on a hell of a late round gem here, though, with 99 potential starting pitcher Chris Martinez, who looks excellent. Not really sure how I missed this guy, frankly. I definitely would have scouted Alabama because that's in the East region. Unfortunately, things are not going well as we've started to play some very good NL teams, and now we're 3 games below 500 as we approach September. I was going to make some moves here and bring up some decent prospects for September call-ups, but now that we're out of a wild card spot, that doesn't seem like a good move. As I'm looking for guys that I want to bring up here, I stumble across Ethan Holliday, who is hot right now and developing nicely, but not exactly playing well in Double-A. He's definitely going to need another year at this level before I consider moving him up. A little part of me is glad that we sucked it up at the end of the year and we're not going to make the playoffs because of that bonehead move with Sandy Alcantara. But I am happy to see us take a step in the right direction as we finish 78 and 84 ahead of the Diamondbacks. Brenton Doyle was really impressive this year at the plate and in the field, and he put up a total of 4.8 WAR. We're not going to be able to give out money like this to everybody, but he is going to make this 15.7 look pretty good. Tovar finished the year on a cold streak, but a 705 OPS for a guy that is glove first makes me very happy. He had 3.5 WAR. Unfortunately, Hunter Goodman is not really impressing behind the plate, so I'm not sure if he's our long-term answer. Both the Murakami and Slater experiments did not work out, but for at least Murakami, I'm interested to give him another shot. Mitch Spence is definitely coming back, and I hate that I have to say goodbye to Michael Lorenzen. He's probably going to cost too much coming off that great year with 190 innings pitched as well. I think we might have found somebody here in Emerson Hancock. I always do like signing this guy, and he did not disappoint. Chase Dollander, on the other hand, very much did. He is not living up to the billing at all and not really fitting us thematically with that low home runs per 9. I'm not sure if I want to give it another shot next season. We could get a pretty good return for a trade. So I'll have to think on that. There are some decent arms here, though. We're building some kind of a rotation in bullpen. The Dodgers would go ahead and defeat the Tigers in the World Series. And yeah, Lorenzen wants 10.5, so we're going to have to say goodbye. I think this is going to be a pretty major offseason here. We're going to have a lot of moves to make and some number crunching to do. Goodman only wants about $3 million here during arbitration, so I am willing to do that, and this is going to be a prove-it year. I'm definitely not going to be able to keep Sam Hentges, though. He's asking for $6 million, and I just can't blow that on a reliever right now. So it's a good thing we got Tim Herron in here to be a high-leverage lefty. I'm going to offer Herron 2 years at 3.2. We are for sure bringing Mitch Spence back. I went for 3 years at 8.6. I also want to give Palacios another shot, and Feltner is gone. If we weren't broke, this might be a fun free agent class, but we are, so I'll look for some gems, but I'm not really seeing anybody that great off the first glance. The Dodgers are willing to give me Ben Kasparius for Sam Hentges and an infielder. That's looking like a pretty good deal. Kasparius is going to be another reliever turned starter for us as he's 70 overall with 87 walks per nine. I think he could actually be an ace. Tyler Freeman's getting too expensive at $7 million a year, so I'm going to trade him and a reliever for a see potential starter prospect on the Phillies. And I need to get some starters because a lot of our depth pieces are eligible for the Rule 5, and they're not that great, so I'm probably going to be letting them go. After the year that Feltner just had, I don't think it's fair to even try to trade him to anybody, so I'm just going to be releasing him. I see that Daniel Schneemann has become a free agent, and I could use a utility guy, especially one that can hit against lefties. He's only asking for 2 years, 1.8. I think that's a pretty good deal. We finished middle of the pack last year, so it's very much a long shot to get a good draft pick. And yeah, we're staying at 13. Not many interesting guys in the Rule 5 draft at all, but I do see Brennan Bernardino, who's 35 and might regress, but it looks like he'll be a decent lefty reliever. All right, Daniel Schneemann is in. I lowballed him. And I cannot make this up. The Red Sox want Chris Bryant. I was really hoping that somebody would take him off our books for us. This frees up so much. All they want to give me is Zach Jackson, who I don't think I'm that interested in, but I am accepting this in a heartbeat. That was an absolute lifeline to clear up his payroll from our books. That does open up some more options for us in free agency, so let me take another look here and see if there's anybody that I want. How about Brandon Lau, who is asking for 2 years, $11 million per year? We could use some help at second base, and I think his power is going to play really well in Coors. It looks like this is going to be a great match for us because after only 1 week, his motivation is way up at 84%, which means I'm going to lowball him like crazy. That might really piss him off, but let's see. Nope, he's in. Well, this is a good sign. We went 17-11 in spring training. Maybe we just got hot. Maybe we're a little better than we think, but we are still ranked 30th by the CPU. We are comfortably under our budget, and we've got some room to make some good deals going forward. I'm going to give Chase Dollander another shot. We'll see how it goes. He did have a good spring training, but it might be a little bit of smoke and mirrors because his whip was 1.55. He has got to do a lot better than last year if he's going to stay on this team. Outside of Dollander, I feel weirdly confident about our pitching rotation, and we are going to be testing to see just how good home runs per nine is in this ballpark with Zach Jackson. Tim Herron's going to close for us, and I think the bullpen's decent, but it's not blowing anybody away for sure. Here is the final lineup with the rookie Yanquiel Fernandez making his debut, and Brandon Lau is right in the middle of the order. I guess let's see what we got. I'm keeping my expectations low despite that good spring training. If I told you that our opening day starter would be Ben Kasparius, that would usually not be a good thing. But finding pitchers who are diamonds in the rough or converting relievers to pitchers is definitely a route to success when you're trying to ball on a budget. One of my concerns for this season is that we're not very good against lefties, and we're facing Christopher Sanchez today. We have managed to put up 1 run, but he's shutting us down for the most part. I just could not find that many good options to bring in as Soderstrom ties things up here with a solo shot. And now Schneemann follows up with a 2-run homer. So you see, once they started bringing righties in, we started putting runs up. Tim Herron is going to get the save here, and we're going to win on opening day. Well, I wouldn't say it's a blazing hot start, but we are 5-4 as we head into scouting. And I'm kind of surprised to already be picking at number 13 that far down. We've been better than I thought, quicker than I thought. And even though we got a third baseman last year, I think the first guy I want to scout is Sammy Santana. Now, after winning 5 straight games for the first time, I can say that we are in first place in the NL West. Tyler Soderstrom is going bananas right now. He's already got 5 home runs on the season. Tovar and Bernabel are off to good starts, and I also see Brendan Lau on fire. Well, we would immediately fall back down to about 500 and out of the lead, but the good news is that Santana looks good. Probably a little bit too good, to be honest, because I can almost guarantee the CPU is going to take him before us. Looks like we might be headed towards mid yet again, as we're now in last place and dead 500. But the division is really bunched up with everyone except for the Dodgers within 1 game of each other. So let's keep our head down and see how things go. And meanwhile, on the scouting side, we just discovered the second-ranked pitcher. Does look a little too good to be true, though. I think I'm willing to bet that Ronan Harris is actually going to be better, but I'd like to be proven wrong. Well, the picture's getting a little more clear now, about 60 games into the year, and we are 8 games under 500. It's not looking good. We have got some major issues on the pitching side. Zach Jackson, this experiment is not working out. He's about to get DFA'd. Also disappointed with Emerson Hancock, but even more disappointed with Chase Dollander. On the pitching side, our farm system is kind of weak, and I just don't have anybody that I can replace Dollander with. He's honestly our best bet, so I think I've just got to ride it out and hope he figures something out, and we're probably going to look to trade him in the offseason. Well, I've had trouble finding gems so far in this class, and this closer started at like 40th rank that dropped out at 71st, so still might take him, but nothing special. But what is special is we just discovered two pretty special looking left fielders. Let's get both these guys scouted, and we'll see how they look. Draft board is looking pretty nice thanks to those couple of discovery guys we found in the 11th hour. I'd love to take either of them in the first round. I'd be happy with that. I think Danny Ash would be interesting with that catcher secondary. But I might be tempted to take Sammy Santana if he's still on the board because he's not discovery, and then we might have a chance to get one of these guys after that. Outside of that, there's a lot of pitchers on the board, but the good news is that there are some very good discovery ones, which I feel like I haven't had good luck with so far in this video. And lastly, we've got a reliever and a closer if I want to throw one of those guys in the mix. Wow. Not sure I've ever seen that. A discovery pitcher just got taken 3rd overall off my board. That is surprising, but he does look like a good player, so I guess I get it, but man. And as I said when I first scouted him, Sammy Santana got taken way ahead of us, and I think he's going to be really good, so we're not going to be able to get him. I think I'm leaning towards Ash because he's a little bit older, and we're going to start to ramp up here and be good pretty soon, and he's also got that catcher secondary, which is fascinating to me, so I'm going with Danny Ash. Well, I'm excited that Johnny McCain is still here. He's discovery. I could risk it and see if he falls to another round, but I did not find any better players than him, so we're going to go with McCain. My favorite discovery pitcher is still on the board, which is a good sign, but I'm not going to pick him. I'm going to choose my favorite of one of these non-discovery pitchers. It's honestly a toss-up between these two guys, but the fact that Patrick Reyes has that really high walks per 9, I'm always going to lean in that direction. We are going with Patrick Reyes. I want to take one of these relievers or closers, and I hope they'll fall to the next round, but I would be stupid not to pick Ronan Harris here with pick number 89. We will go with him. And both Escalona and Walls do look pretty good, but I'm leaning towards Escalona. He's got a higher potential range, and he's got really good home runs per 9, and the walks per 9 and hits per 9 are also good. He's also left-handed, so we're going with Escalona. And this is working out pretty well. Walls is still here, so we're going to take him next. And we'll finish this off with our last discovery starter. That was a good draft. Tovar is making his first All-Star appearance this year. He continues to develop nicely. Obviously, the defense is elite, but the hitting stats are getting better. He's just shy of a 700 OPS, but he's still very valuable. But he is our only representative because the team is really, really struggling. I'm surprised how much of a step back we have taken this year. I thought we would be a little bit better than last season for sure. But offensively, we are just horrible. 28th in runs scored in a very hitter-friendly ballpark is unacceptable. And we're also 28th in runs allowed. So this is not working on either the pitching or the hitting front. So as we approach the deadline, I need to sell off some pieces and just retool this roster. Hopefully I can find some decent returns as we look ahead to next season. Unfortunately, Ethan Holiday is not doing well in the minors at all. He's in Double-A with a 588 OPS. I think I need to send him back down to Single-A. I cannot risk stunting his development. He's a big part of the future of this team. Marlon Jackson is cold right now, but he is showing some improvement, and I do think he'll be part of the team next year. Mackenzie Acevedo also needs more time to develop, and I actually had to send Adael Amador down to Double-A, where he's performing well, but he was not doing well in Triple-A. So in a few different ways, this season feels like a step in the wrong direction. I need to try to get some other talent in here, and then hopefully our draft picks are as good as they think they're going to be. Looking ahead to the upcoming seasons, we don't have a lot of pitching depth coming up at all in the farm system. Dave Montano is going to be solid, but he is still a couple years away, and the same can be said about Aaron Ventura. And so I really need to find some starters that I can rely on because we obviously cannot rely on Chase Dollander. Hunter Goodman has been decent for us, but this year's not gone as well, and he's starting to get closer to his max potential. He has still had a couple of solid seasons, but in this next year of arbitration, I think he's going to be pretty expensive. I'm ready to move on from Hunter Goodman and put Joe Mack in the starting role. And the Royals are looking for a catcher, and I am looking for this starting pitcher, David Shields, who is only a year away from being in the majors. He's well-rounded and has solid projections for hits per 9 and walks per 9. No issues here at all, and I think this is a good move for our future. In case of emergency, break glass and get Christian Scott on your roster. I feel like I've signed this guy in almost every rebuild, but it's time to bring him in. He's going to be cheap for a while, and we know what he can do. He's very reliable, and he still has room for growth, and I'm ready to move on from Zach Veen, who's caught behind a few other players. I'm going to move Scott into the starting rotation and send Dollander down to the minors. I'm hoping that this might help him recoup some of his value before we trade him this offseason. One last move, I think, for now. We're going to move on from Yanquiel Fernandez. He's still on renewable contract for a couple of years, so he's going to be cheap. He could be a decent depth piece, but I just don't really need him with who else I've got coming up. The Reds have this reliever, Alec Jacob, who's got 3 more years of team control, and I need somebody to replace Jimmy Herget next year, who was kind of that build that I'm looking for with Jacob. So this is my last move for now. We'll see if I do anything else. Well, there are some very interesting players here on the trading block. There's even another international player, Shugo Maki from Japan, but I'm not going to abuse the system here. Again, he's on an absurdly low deal, so I'm not going to do that again. But I do see someone I'm interested in here, and that is Eli Morgan, who's got 2 more years on arbitration. He's been really good this year. He hasn't pitched a whole lot during this simulation window, and I'm interested in getting him on the roster. It does not take much at all to get this over the line. I could even offer a D potential outfielder, but I'm not going to do that. That's just not fair. The Cubs, I guess, do not want Morgan for some reason. I do, so I'm going to trade a C potential left fielder to them. And I think our outlook in the bullpen is much better for the upcoming seasons. All right, now I think I'm done with midseason moves here. And now finally we can take a look at our draft picks, which I am very excited to do, and that is looking promising. Unfortunately, though, Danny Ash is coming in at the very low end of his potential at 80, and the defense is not great. On the positive side, the contact is elite, as well as his vision, discipline, and clutch, which is important because we're really struggling to get on base. Sadly, he's a lot farther away from the majors than I was hoping for, because if he came in at the higher end of his potential, he'd be around 70 overall and just a year or two away. On the positive side, John McCain is looking great. 69 overall at 18 with 91 potential. Durability is going to need a little bit of work. I feel like I say that way too often. His hitting profile looks excellent, and if the defense doesn't get there in the outfield, we'll be able to play him at first base. After that, we got back-to-back high-potential starting pitchers, which is huge. Our farm system is kind of weak on the starting pitching side. Patrick Reyes needs some time to develop, but the walks per 9 is already at the major league level. Harris is also going to need some development, but the hits per 9 is at an elite level right out of the gate. The last starter we took is 21-year-old Jeffrey Marcus, who's got 85 potential, 64 overall, and he looks decent, but the walks per 9 is kind of concerning. And then we took a couple of bullpen pieces. Fernando Escalona's got an interesting build. He's obviously got elite home runs per 9. The rest of his stats are also projecting pretty nicely. He's not going to strike a lot of guys out, and we will need to develop his clutch. And lastly, Milt Walls is coming in at 83 potential for a closer at 20 years old, 67 overall, decent pick. And the guy who I did want to take number 1 overall, Sammy Santana's looking good, but we already have a third baseman in our farm system that looks exactly like this, so I'm not too bummed. And that third baseman in our farm system would be Acevedo from last year, who's developing nicely, and he's got an 874 OPS with lots of pop in AA. I'm not in the place to extend anybody during contract extension, so let's just send to the end of this season and get this over with. Let's get our best prospect, Marlon Jackson, up into the majors for September call-ups. He's doing okay in AAA. The on-base percentage is really good, and that's what I'm looking for to improve next season. 71 and 91 this year. I am very disappointed with this result. We took a step back from last season where we went 78 and 84, and I felt like we were going to be over 500 this year. I mentioned it already, but our biggest problem was getting on base. We were below 300 in that department. We did have a handful of guys above 700 OPS, but nobody was really impressive at all. I am happy to see that Munetaka Murakami improved a lot this season. He was much better. He had 20 homers, 44 ribbies, 743 OPS, and he put up 1.1 WAR. Our biggest free agent that we got last offseason was Brandon Lau, and he disappointed overall with a 685 OPS. He was still a positive player, and we're going to run him out again next season. Both Ben Kasparius and Christian Scott will be in the rotation for sure next season, and probably Javier Assad, who was decent with a 4.25 ERA. Mitch Spence was unfortunately kind of disappointing, coming off of an unbelievable year last year. He's still signed for 2 more years, and I want to keep him either in the rotation or in a long relief role. We're not giving up on Mitch Spence. He showed us what he was capable of in 2026. But sadly, one of my go-to guys here, Emerson Hancock, just could not figure it out at all. 5.57 ERA. We cannot roll him out next year. I do have some good news, though, as Marlon Jackson got 17 games in at the end of the year, and he had a 368 average and an over 1 tot OPS. So the 32nd ranked prospect in the MLB, which is honestly pretty underrated. I think his age is impacting that. But anyway, he is definitely going to be part of our team next season. And he's one of 7 prospects we have in the top 100, which is honestly kind of low, but I think the last year's draft class is not here yet, and that should add quite a few more. Let's get out of this season and turn the page. The Orioles defeat the Braves in the 2027 World Series, and I am very motivated heading into this offseason. Dollander's trade value is quite bad, understandably, after how he's performed in the majors. I'm trying to package him with the reliever, and I'm just not getting too many good hits coming back. We need to get a prospect in here at catcher. Joe Mack is going to be our guy for now, but he's not going to last forever if this rebuild goes out for a while. So I'm looking at Lauren Diaz on the Mets, who definitely projects as a contact on base guy with decent defense. Actually feel like he's underrated. For some reason, it says that the Mets are looking for a catcher, which does not make any sense because they already have one of the best catchers in the game, as well as a prospect better than the one I'm looking for coming up. So I don't feel too bad about this, and we're going to move away from Dollander. The Jared Kelenic experiment is coming to an end here. He did improve decently, but he's asking for $7 million in arbitration, which I am just not willing to pay that. He can play center field, which the Tigers are looking for, and they've got a reliever, Woody Cooley, that I'm interested in, so I'm going to trade Kelenic for him. And now it's time to trade Jordan Beck. We've got so much depth coming up in the outfield, and he wants $7 million in arbitration. Just in left field alone, we've got Charlie Condon and Alfredo Leon, who we drafted in the first year on the way up. And then just last draft, we got Johnny McCain and Danny Ash. And I need to make some recession plans at first base because we're not going to be able to afford Soderstrom and Bernabel for that much longer. The Rays have Trey Morgan, who's got interesting plate skills and passable defense, and he's got 0 years of MLB service. I think this is a great move for us. And I'm going to go ahead and offer arbitration to the rest of the guys here that are available. I'm keying in on one free agent here, and it's very atypical for what I usually look for. I am wondering if future Hall of Famer Freddie Freeman wants to finish his career in Colorado. Now, he is heavily regressing, but the hitting stats look really good, and I actually only want him to DH. He's got a bunch of quirks, too, which helps with longevity, and he still had a very good season last year with an 846 OPS, 21 homers. But more than anything, he gets on base. Let's see if Freddie's interested. No offense to him, but I would kind of like to lowball him. We've got a budget we need to worry about, and our current salaries are at $45 million with arbitration estimates of $46, so we've only got room for about $10 million. The more that I think about it, the more that I feel like Freeman is the perfect fit for us this year. But as I mentioned, I do need to lowball him at 1 year, $8.6 million in order to stay under our budget. Let's see if he's good with that. He is. First try. Welcome to the team. He's going to go right into the number 2 spot in our order, and all that I want from him is to have a super high on-base percentage, which seems pretty likely considering his career average is .386. We are narrowly under our limit of $100 million per year. Freddie Freeman, our third largest contract, tied with Tyler Soderstrom, who is probably going to be in his last year as a Rocky. I felt like I had to bring him back because he's so consistent at the plate and absolutely mashes righties. I was surprised how much Javier Assad wanted in arbitration at $8.4 million, but I do think he's got better in him than a 4.2 ERA. But if he's going to be our third or fourth starter, that is not bad in Colorado. We've got a decent chance to move up here in the draft lottery simulation, but we stay right at the 7th pick. I'm going to grab Tristan Beck in the Rule 5 draft. He's another reliever with 67 stamina, and he's got some upside. He's also going to be cheap with some team control. Count me in. That'll be my only pick, though. I feel decent about the rest of the roster. So here is the final lineup heading into opening day with Marlon Jackson in the 1 and veteran Freddie Freeman in the 2-hole. Familiar names fill out the rest of the lineup in the bench except for Adael Amador, who I had to bring up this year because he was out of major league options. I don't want to lose him, so he's going to be on the bench, and maybe he'll develop this year, maybe he'll get some at-bats and surprise us in the majors. We have 3 relief pitchers in our starting rotation, Kasperius, Scott, and Spence. All of them should play above their rating because they have good hits per 9 and walks per 9. Tim Herron's our only lefty in the bullpen, so he is probably going to get a pretty heavy workload. I had to jump in and catch opening day. I'm getting a little tired of staring at the menu. And we're going head-to-head against Paul Skeens and the Pirates. Skeens won the Cy Young last year, 2.69 ERA, almost a 30% strikeout rate. This might get ugly. They've got Freddie Freeman penciled in for a 274 average. I think he'll do a little better than that. Concerned with Brandon Lau there at 219. There he is in the Colorado purple. By the way, Freddie Freeman is just 2 home runs away from 400, so he's going to reach that milestone in a Rockies uniform. Oh, he chases the heater. Our most consistent hitter, Tyler Soderstrom, is going to have an opening day home run. Paul Skeens, no match for Soderstrom. How about that? Ended up going with Ben Kasperius as our ace this year, so we'll see how he does. I've got high hopes for him, but he gives up a run and make that 2 in the first. Unique stance from Murakami. I did not realize how tall he was. It's that hard, but it's a grounder. And I do see on the ticker at the bottom that we do have the #1 farm system in baseball with 10 prospects in the top 100, so that is a good sign. Skeens has pretty much shut us down ever since that first inning homer from Soderstrom. Hey, there's a single from Marlin. Murakami much better against righties. Chance to tie it up here. 2 runners on, and he did it! How about that from Munetaka? It's a tie ball game. Very interested to see where he lands in the MLB next season. He was posted from his team in Japan, so someone's going to sign him, probably the Dodgers. Ooh, Eli Morgan, first appearance of the year, gives up a solo shot to Gino Suarez. And the Pirates have taken the lead here, and they close us out 7-5. Well, not a good start. We are 2-6, but it's early, and I hope that we'll turn things around here. I do see what looks to be a generational talent here in this class. If you've seen my video on how to find these players, this guy is pretty much tailor-made for what you're looking for. Nothing's really going to change in my strategy this year. Still going to look for the best player available and try to discover some good pitchers. Well, I was checking out the AA roster, and Ethan Holiday hit a bomb to dead center in this game, so hopefully this is the year that he really starts developing. The Pirates swept us in that series to open the year, and they just swept us again in this first week of April, so they've got our number, and we're not off to the start that I was hoping for. Good news is that Freddie Freeman is off to the start I was hoping for, as he's batting .377 with a 1.1 OPS. And after a week of scouting, I can pretty much guarantee that Alvin Nathan is going to be generational, so I'm not even going to scout him any further. We'll keep him on the board. If somehow we can get him, that would be awesome. We were laying in the weeds around 500 for a while, but we just lost 8 in a row to start June, so things are not looking great so far this year. The bullpen's doing their job for the most part. It's hard to tell who's a starter and reliever the way this team's constructed, but these top 4 guys are all relievers. Kasparius is doing well in the rotation. Christian Scott is only doing okay. Javier Assad is disappointing, though, as we paid him $8.4 million to pitch a little better than this. We're 18th in on-base percentage, so a big improvement over last year. I think we were 28th, if I remember right. But Freddie Freeman is definitely carrying the heavy load on that front with a .375 on base. And I thought the rotation wasn't doing bad, but taking a look at ERA, we're 27th. We've given up the 24th most runs as well. I'm kind of surprised by all of that, honestly. I'm thinking we've still got some upside with this team, but I'm just not sure. We need to get on a hot streak soon. Update on the scouting side, we did find an elite-looking starting pitcher here. Connie Nolan looks fantastic. These 2 shortstops are the best players I've found so far for the first round. And Nathan, I did just notice, was 19. I still think he's going to be generational, but I'm actually going to go ahead and scout him at some point all the way through just to double-check, because most commonly generational players are 18, but 19 happens sometimes too. We're finally doing something as we have a 5-game winning streak heading into the draft. How I feel about this draft is going to depend a lot on what the 6 teams ahead of me do. No doubt Alvin Nathan's my number 1, but the chances are pretty much 0 that we're going to be able to get him. He might even go first overall. Backup plan is Clifford Montañez. Nothing's changed there. There's a chance I might reach for this first baseman, Joey Monticelli. But most likely, if I can't get one of these guys, I'm going to pick the best pitcher that I have on my board because a lot of them rose way up. I don't know. This hasn't been exactly the best scouting session, and the team's not playing too well, so I'm a little down on this season so far. The countdown begins here as we wait for 3 more picks, and I hope you're enjoying this video. I always have a fun time playing, even when we're not good, and there goes Nathan. Montañez is still here as we wait on the Cubs. What do? They take Montañez. Well, this number 1 pitcher's still on the board, but he is injured, so we're not going to go with him. I think there's a good chance that some of these pitchers are going to fall to the next round. A lot of them rose up the board from in the hundreds even, so I am actually going to reach here and go for Joey Monticelli. I just love the contact. I know this is not the sexiest first-round pick ever, but I think it's the best I can do. I think with this next pick, the best option here is to take the second-ranked player in the class, the starting pitcher Thomas Hensley. I don't really like his build, but I think he's going to have high potential and be a good trade piece. Everybody's still on the board for pick 45, so I'm going to go actually for Connie Nolan here. I like his build a little bit better. He is discovery and could stay for later rounds, but I don't really want to take the chance. I'm going to take Finley Simmons here in round 2, 5th-ranked pitcher. Again, should have high potential. Don't love the build. If you're sensing a theme here, a lot of these guys are probably going to get traded at some point. I see that Luis Rodriguez is still here for pick 114. I don't think he's anything special, but he did rise up the board a little bit. I want to get another position player. Another high potential starting pitcher here for the 144th pick, Marco Hernandez. And once again, another pitcher for our final pick, Chris Navarre. Bilao is an all-star this year. He has actually gone all the way up to 88 overall, continuing to improve. He's got a 759 OPS, 18 homers, 62 RBIs at the break. Pretty solid. And unfortunately, once again, we've only got 1 representative. It's been a weird season for me. I don't know why we're not producing as many runs. I feel like there's enough decent bats here. Our ERA is still kind of middle of the pack, 4.01. Unfortunately, Marlon Jackson is not doing well in the majors. He's got a 620 OPS. He is positive on WAR with the defense and base running, but not good at the plate. I'm not going to send him down, but I really expected more. I'm going to bump him all the way down to the last spot in the order until he starts to figure some things out. I'm going to shake things up a little further and put Tyler Soderstrom in the outfield for the first time. I don't love that his defense is bad, but I just need to get this offense going. We've got to sacrifice a little bit of defense at this point. Murakami can play first base, so I moved him over there, and then I brought Cole Carrig in for third base, and I moved Daniel Schneemann onto the bench. I don't know why the CPU seems to keep throwing him in the lineup. He cannot be in the lineup. He needs to be a defensive bench guy. I'm not going to give up on this season, though. I'm going to try to look for a left-handed relief pitcher and make another move here in the bullpen. I think I found a guy here. Colin Poche is in AAA right now with a 1.06 ERA, and he's making $1 million this year. They're willing to go reliever for reliever here with Bradley Blaylock, so let's give this a shot. And now I'm going to trade away Carson Palmquist because he's out of options, and he's taken up a spot on the 26-man and not pitching very well. The Rays are willing to give me Hader Arenamo. I think that's a pretty good deal. Let's make this trade. Let's see how Poche does. Maybe that'll give us some better matchups lefty-lefty because Tim Herron was carrying that entire load himself. I went ahead and extended Christian Scott during contract extensions for 4 years at 3.8. Should be a good deal. We know what this guy's capable of. Don't really want to extend anybody else, and if there's somebody that I might want to extend, like Brandon Lau, I can't exactly afford him. Well, we're making a little bit of a run here right before the deadline. We just swept the Cubs, and now we win the first game against Washington. We lose the second. We just went 17-5 in July, and all of a sudden we're in the thick of things. We're 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. I think the team still has some upside. I don't think I'm going to sell. Well, I'm glad we're playing a lot better. We're 2 games above 500 now. I don't know how to feel going into viewing the draft picks here, and that is a lot better than I expected. Monticelli, he's definitely a project, but he's coming in with 86 potential and 57 overall. Looks good. Defense, not great. Thomas Hensley, I believe, was the pitcher who was briefly ranked number 1 in the class, and he is coming in with 94 potential, 59 overall. Connie Nolan's got a little bit of a lower ceiling at 85, but he does have a higher floor starting at 70 overall. Ks per 9 and walks per 9 are looking good, but we need to develop the hits per 9 and home runs per 9 for sure. We got 2 more high potential starters with Finley Simmons and Marco Hernandez. Nivar is coming in with only 79 potential, but 65 overall, and he would be pretty good for a C potential starter. Most likely he'll become a trade piece along with some of these other guys too, and then I'm glad that I took first baseman Luis Rodriguez. He is coming in looking better than I thought with 91 potential, good power versus lefties. So that actually worked out pretty well. Let's look around the league. I'm curious about a couple of guys here. As I expected, 19-year-old Alvin Nathan is generational at shortstop. Bummer that we weren't able to get him. And there's another 99 potential player in this class, although he is 22 years old, power-hitting right fielder Miguel Gomez. Wish I scouted him. Outside of those guys, we didn't miss, though, so this was a pretty solid draft. Before I sim to September call-ups, I wanted to check in on a couple of prospects, and I see that Mackenzie Acevedo has got an 867 OPS in AAA. That is very promising. Acevedo is definitely the best bat that we have in the farm system, and then I also see Alfredo Leon. He's doing well and developing nicely. I was close to bringing up Charlie Condon this year, but I think another year in the minors is going to serve him well. And now taking a look at AA, I see that Ethan Holiday is much improved. 812 OPS so far this season. Johnny McCain's also doing all right, who we drafted last year. He's losing a little bit of contact, but he's adding some power. Back to AAA, I wanted to see how our best starting pitcher prospect was doing, David Shields, and he is looking good. 2.77 ERA, 1.07 whip. I think the farm system is finally starting to get into a good place. Honestly, I did not realize how bad it was when I took over the Rockies. Well, we've fallen back down to earth a little bit, heading into a big 4-game set against Arizona, and we lose the first 2 games. We win the third, but we end up losing the series. And unfortunately, we're headed in the wrong direction once again, 4 games below 500. We finish August 2 games below 500, and it's time for September call-ups. I'd like to see what David Shields has in the MLB to maybe think about putting him in the rotation next year, so he is going to come up on the team. I'm not ready to bring Acevedo up just yet, but I would like to see what I've got against lefties and Benny Montgomery, so let's throw him on the roster as well. Well, for a moment it looked promising, but we lose a series to San Francisco, and now we lost 6 straight, including the series to LA. And we would go on to finish this season 77-85. It feels like we're stuck in neutral. We do have a league leader. Freddie Freeman led the league in walks. He definitely got on base. In fact, he had a 372 on base percentage, which is by far the highest on the team. That was a fun signing. Herron, Morgan, and Jacob were excellent in the bullpen. Ben Kasparius finished the year as our best starter with Christian Scott in second. Also a bounce-back season for Mitch Spence. Javier Assad came in with a 4.36 ERA. He cost $8.5 million. That is not good enough for how much I paid for him, considering our budget is $100 million. And unfortunately, David Shields, who came up during September call-ups, had a 5.12 ERA in 4 starts. Still have faith in him, but he's probably got to start next year in the minors. I know we're getting closer, but I came into this rebuild with a lot of confidence as the Dodgers defeat the Tigers in the World Series, and it's just not gone quite how I expected so far. But I always enjoy the challenge, so let's rebuild in the offseason and give it another shot. And it's tempting to bring Brandon Lau back, who we have exclusive free agent rights for, but he's asking for $13 million a year, and I just don't think he quite produced to that level, even though he's 89 overall. We've got 2 more years left with Brenton Doyle, 3 more years left with Ezekiel Tovar. Can we win a World Series, or at the very least get to one before we lose these guys? I think I made the right move here with Dollander. He had 150 innings last year with a 6.5 ERA, so that worked out in our favor. Going to be making a lot of moves this offseason, and the first one I'm going to make is for this starting pitcher, Richard Fitz on the Red Sox, who's got 2 more years on a renewable contract. He's coming off not a great year, but his stats look good. I think he's going to be better than this, and I'm making this deal. We've got a plethora of starters now at this point, so I'm trading from depth here, and I am very interested in relief pitcher Valiente Belloso on the Cubs, and you guessed it, I want to turn him into a starter. That is a theme of this video, and a great way to save some money. With Fitz as our 3rd starter and Belloso as our 4th, I think we just improved our rotation a lot with those 2 moves. I don't think Benny Montgomery is going to add a whole lot to us going forward. He's out of options. Yes, he's going to be cheap, but I don't really see him being part of our Major League roster next year, so I'm going to trade him to the Rays for a left-handed closer with low walks per 9, which is a concern, but I like the other stats, and I want to see how he does in the minors. We're going to need a first baseman next year, which I'll touch on in a moment, and I also need to improve against lefties, and Curtis Mead can accomplish both of those for me. He looked really good with limited playing time next year, and I want to give him a full-time role, and I'm ready to trade Javier Assad and Richie Palacios. I think I've got a great deal here. The Mariners have an unbelievable starting 5, but their farm system for pitching is really bad. And we've got a ton of pitchers, so I'm going to cash in Thomas Hensley, who I don't like the hits per 9. The other stats are good. He does have high potential. Don't get me wrong, I like Joe Mack. He's going to be our backup this year, but I love Vaughn Coughlin on the Mariners. Fantastic hitting stats, pretty solid defense, and hardly any MLB service time. He's also caught behind Cal Raleigh and Harry Ford. I think the Mariners will be willing to do this. This is a good deal for us. And that is an immediate upgrade at catcher. I don't know why the Twins are looking for a shortstop. They've got like 15 of them, and there's 1,000 in this roster I'm using because it has all the draft picks from the last year in it. And they got Steele Hall. He looks really good. He's on the 40-man, but that's fine. He's got plenty of options, all of his options available. We need to push Ethan Holiday a little bit here. So I think bringing in Steele Hall is going to be a good move, and we are going to trade Tyler Soderstrom. He's asking for $11 million. I cannot afford that. Time to move off of Bernabel. We're starting to lose a lot of guys that we began this video with. I'm going to package Schneemann in there for a starter from the White Sox. And I also traded Tim Herron because I want to go to free agency and take a look at the market. I am very interested in Angel Zerpa, who has been very consistent in a 2.5 or better ERA. I'd like to sign him. I'm offering these 6 ARB guys contracts, and I'm actually going for 2 years with Xavier Curry, Ben Kasparius, and Curtis Mead. And I think I finally made all the trades that I want to make, so let's focus on free agency and the rest of the offseason. Almost everybody has accepted their deals, and we're in a really good spot on the budget side. And I also decided to sign Vaughn Conklin for 6 years. We're going to take him all the way through 2034. We could probably make a bigger splash in free agency, so I'm going to look around and see if there's anybody that I want to add to the list. How about instead of Curtis Mead at first base, we see if we can lowball Josh Naylor? I should have room in the budget. I don't really want to give him 5 years or $19 million a year, and he's going to be a big ticket item. But let's give it a shot because I think he's going to be the bat that we need. Well, his interest level is a little bit low, so I'm not sure we're going to be able to get him, but we'll keep him on the board, and Zerpa's not ready either. We're up to 47%, but the Marlins and Astros are also interested. Up to 55%, I'm going to risk it and hold out one more week. And we got Zerpa, so there's our high leverage lefty. 1.8% chance at the first pick. We could dream. And nobody moved at all. That happens more often than you'd think. Braden Montgomery is in the Rule 5 draft. I think we got to pick him up. This has been a packed offseason. All right, 64%. Let's throw our hat in the ring. I want to go 4 years, and I'm just going to go down to $16 million. I wouldn't blame him if he didn't take that and went somewhere else, but that's the best I can do. All right, here we go. First try. Welcome to the team. That is perfect. I got the two guys that I wanted, and Josh Naylor is without a doubt the best hitter that's put on a Rockies uniform in this video. I'm feeling a lot better against lefties next season with Curtis Mead, Vaughn Conklin, and Josh Naylor are 1, 2, 3 in the order. I wouldn't say we've reached our final form just yet, and I think we could improve a little bit with our DH. I do like Murakami against righties. However, I do have good news as we have a DH on the way. Hopefully Acevedo continues to develop this year and join us in the Major League roster. And while we're talking recession plans, the end of Doyle and Tovar's contracts are coming up quicker than I thought. By the way, while I'm here, I'll show you that our budget is at a comfy $98 million. But I've got guys in the queue to take over these spots. Steele Hawley shown in the MLB is not going to be in the MLB this year, but between him and Holiday, we've got a shortstop. And at center field, of course, we have Marlon Jackson, who I'll probably extend after Doyle's contract's over. Just depends on how much he's looking for, but we've got a decent plan for when some of our best players leave. I'm expecting us to take a big leap forward this year as we open up at home against Cincinnati. Kasperius was excellent last season, and I want him to be our ace once again. There is a lot to be excited about this year, and I think we're going to be competitive for a playoff spot. Conklin rips one in his first at-bat, but right to Buxton. Unlucky. And there is Josh Naylor. Without a doubt, the biggest signing of this video. Drills that one, but pulls it foul. He's really the centerpiece of this offense, so I'm hoping he'll be our North Star, but Ellie De La Cruz is shifted over to second, and that's a ground out. De La Cruz doubles home 2 runs in the 4th, and we're down 2-0. Make that 3-0. Josh Naylor gets us on the board. 450 to the second deck. Hoping to see a lot of that. Great start to the year for Naylor. I think he's going to like hitting in Colorado. And Condon ties it up. It's 3-3. Angel Zerpa gives up a run in his first outing, and he's not looking too good. Finally gets an out. Gonna be leaning on him heavily this year, but the bases are loaded, and he walks in another run. And we do end up losing on opening day 7-4. And it's a 4-5 start to the season as we transition to scouting. I don't know about you guys, but scouting and drafting has got to be my favorite part of franchise. You never know what you're going to get. It's like a scavenger hunt. What can you find here amongst all of these players? There's a lot of center fielders, I can tell you that. I'm liking the look of Luis Castellano here. That low stealing in the bottom right, 0-17, that makes me think he's going to be pretty good. And that was one of my tips in my video on how to find generational players, so go check that out. I don't think Castellano's generational, but he does look pretty dang good. We'll see. We have a nice couple weeks in April here, winning 9 out of our 12 games, vaulting us into second place, just a game and a half behind the Dodgers. Early signs show a couple of rookies leading the way offensively, and then I see Marlon Jackson might be starting to figure it out at the plate after a tough 2028. And who else but Christian Scott has been absolutely dominant to start the year. This guy's unbelievable. Both Belloso and Fitz, on the other hand, who we traded for during the offseason, are not up to good starts. And Castellanos looking just okay. I like his build, but the defense is kind of weak for a catcher. Life comes at you fast, though, as we lose 6 of our last 7 games in April, and now we're back down to 500. And the losing would not stop there. We would go on to lose 4 straight to start May. A lot of guys got cold here. I see Naylor has ticked up in the OPS, and then I do see Conklin and Jackson continuing to play well. But the pitching staff is not off to a good start. Way too many ERAs over 5 and even a couple over 7. It's too early to read too much into it, but yeah, not great. Another scouting update, check out Stort, Pate, power and defense build at first, can also catch. Very interested in this player. I think he's now shot up to my favorite choice in the first round. Unfortunately, though, we're not finding any good discovery starting pitchers. There's nobody really at the top of the board except for Bobby Byler. And now as we start June, we're dead 500. I feel like I've said that so many times in this video. We just can't seem to break away from the middle of the pack. We're 2.5 games out of the wild card early in the season. Jackson and Conklin have been excellent at the top of the order, and Josh Naylor is finding his power with 12 home runs, slugging .477, pretty good. Tovar is having a career year so far as well, 797 OPS. And how about Charlie Condon, who is developing extremely well and showing off a lot of power, 15 homers. The lineup's been really good, and in the rotation, Kasperius and Scott have been good, but Fitz, Belloso, and Spence are not pitching great. And also Angel Zerpa, the lefty that I seeked out this offseason, is not doing well, having the worst season by far, of course. I had a lot of confidence in the rotation in Penn going into this year, but I'm doubting myself a little bit. Check out this closer we've got in Triple A. He's currently 26-0 in save opportunities. I believe this is the guy I mentioned I was worried about his walks per nine. Does not seem to be impacting Karros at all. If he keeps this up, he's going to get a call-up to the majors very soon, probably ahead of September call-ups. Unfortunately, the closest starter to the show here, David Shields, is not pitching well at Triple A right now. We do have some good starters in Double A, though, especially Aaron Ventura, who's flashing early. But what I really wanted to check out in the farm system was our hitters, and Mackenzie Acevedo is crushing it. I expect that he will also get a call-up very soon. If we look at the tail of the tape for the shortstops, though, Steele Hall is well outpacing Ethan Holliday, who can just not figure it out at the plate. At this point, the hitting stats are definitely good enough to make it in AAA, so I don't want to send him down. We need him to figure this out. And we continue to hover around 500 heading into a huge series against Arizona. Here we go. We lose game 1, lose game 2, salvage game 3, and end up losing the series to Arizona, who's right in front of us in the division. I really feel like we're on the cusp of something great. I don't know why the results have not been there yet. Our batting average is number 1 in the league. For runs, though, we're down at 14, so the production is not always there. The average isn't necessarily translating into runs. And let me take a look at our slugging now. Well, we're 8th in slugging. That is not bad at all. And we're 1st in on base, which was really my priority with a lot of guys that I brought in. That can only mean one thing. It's got to be an issue with the pitching, and I just got to keep scrolling down. We're 23rd in ERA. I feel like there's a ton of volatility out in Colorado. I feel good about a team, and they don't do well, and then you go back to Season 2 when we were still rebuilding, and we were all of a sudden close to making the playoffs. I want to get another lefty. Zerpa's just not hold it down too well, and Justin Brule is here hiding in Double A. I kind of found a gem here. He's a rental, and I want to bring him in. And I've got to send Emerson Hancock down. He's getting way too many innings and not doing a lot with them, but he is out of options. He'd definitely get scooped up if I got rid of him, so I don't want to just drop him for nothing. And there's another guy named Marlin on the Orioles, a reliever. I feel like I have to get him. That's 2 Marlins now. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this before, but this now makes it just 1 starter in the MLB and 11 relievers. It's not working out great this year, and by the way, that 1 starter has been the worst in the rotation. So we've got another lefty in here. I think Brule will be just fine, nothing special, but I'm hoping that this helps us out. Not the greatest draft board in the world here, but I do like my options for the first round. We've got the 10th pick, and I'm going to go between either Yusniel Torres or Stort Pate. I am leaning towards Stort Pate. Great defense, great power. Yes, going to have to round out the plate skills for sure, but first base and catcher are very promising. After that, I've got a couple discovery guys we could take later on. I do really want to get this closer. Willie Cisneros looks fantastic. And then, of course, there's a bunch of pitchers. I actually would not mind taking Alexis Molina in the first round if we need to. I could go with Molina. He's probably going to get taken before our next pick, but I'm going to risk it just because of how much he rose up the board, and I do like Stort Pate. How does this always seem to happen? Molina goes the pick right before us at 48. We've got the 49th pick. That's all right, though, because Bill Casey is still here, and even though it's a reach, he's moved up the board so much, he'll probably have mid-B potential, but he is my favorite pitcher left in the class. Hopefully either Davis or Lopez falls to the next round because I want to take Lawrence King next. I think he's going to have a high ceiling. Both of them did fall to the next round. I'm going to go for Lopez because he has a higher potential range. And now we'll grab Keith Davis. I've only got 1 player left. It's a discovery pitcher, so I'm going to take a shot on Clemente Alvarez, who looks to have great contact, but I didn't scout him, so it could be a total bust. And then we'll finish things off with this starter, Bobby Byler. Well, we head into the break 1 game above 500. It just continues to be a mixed bag, and taking a look at the standings, we're 3 games out of the wild card, so definitely within striking distance. Christian Scott is an all-star, his first career appearance. Looking forward to 3 more years of him on our team. And so is Josh Naylor, who is playing quite well. 358 on base, 844 OPS is a career high. I believe this is the first time that we've had multiple selections. I see this right fielder Rick McKendry with a power build is posted on the trade deadline, and I want to acquire him. Nats are looking for a starter. I don't plan on using Brody Brecht at any point. Right now he's kind of just clogging up the 40-man a little bit, and that'll get the job done, so we'll make that move. That's not really going to impact us this season, though, so let me see what I want to do now. We have got to try something different on the pitching side. It's difficult to make moves with our budget restriction. I'm looking for anybody with walks per nine and home runs per nine above 70. I'll admit I've spent way too long trying to figure this out, but let's start here. The Braves will give me Dylan Dodge straight up for Mitch Spence. Let's give this a shot. We need to make a bigger splash than that, though, and I see that the Marlins are looking for a first baseman, and I'm willing to give up Curtis Mead, who we just signed, and this will clear up some payroll, number one. And number two, Ronnie Henriquez looks fantastic, and he is on a pretty good deal for how good he is. I don't really think we need Curtis Mead that much, so I am happy to make this move. So we're shifting things around here. Let's see if we get some better results with this bullpen and rotation. But the last move I'm going to make has nothing to do with the bullpen or rotation. It is time to bring up Acevedo. He's got a 991 OPS in AAA. I can't keep him down here any longer. So let's get him on the 40-man, bring him to the MLB, and he is going right into the heart of our lineup. This is a gutsy move as we begin to use his service time, and he is going to be very expensive someday. I'll probably look to get out in front of that with some kind of a medium-term deal like we did with Vaughn Conklin, but we'll get there when we get there. I'm officially pushing some chips into the center of the table. We are going to make a postseason run this year. I've gotten fed up with being completely mid for the last 4 seasons. We have got to make something happen. We've probably got 4 to 5 years with Mackenzie Acevedo on the team, and we've got to make him count. His first swing is ripped, but right into the shift. Charlie Condon's breakout this year has been really unexpected, 941 OPS for the kid. With Christian Scott on the mound, I am always feeling confident, but he's given up a couple of hits, and now the bases are loaded, and a 3-run shot for Mike Trout. We're now down 3. Josh Naylor's responsible for our only run today with a solo shot, and now a gapper is going to score 2 more. And here is Acevedo making his debut with 2 on. Love the batting stance from the left side, but that's a weak grounder. Scott needs a bounce-back inning, but he gives up 2 singles right away, and Dylan Dodd is coming in for his first appearance. And it goes smoothly. He gets 3 outs, and Condon ties it up. He's got lots of stamina, so going for a second inning, and that one's clean too. Now we're in the bottom of the 5th with nobody out, and Naylor's at the plate. And he drills one deep to center field, and it's over the leaping center fielder. 2 runs come home. Naylor's 3 for 3 with a solo shot and 2 doubles. Make that 2 2-run doubles. That was roasted. All of a sudden, this team has a spark in it, and Tovar is going to extend the lead with a no-doubter. Back into the night sky. See ya. And Acevedo gets drilled. They're already avoiding him at the plate. That looked blatant, if you ask me. The team is fired up as the bases are loaded for Marlon Jackson, who brings in 2 more. But Dodd gives 3 right back, and Zerpa's coming in. I was just on top of the world 8 seconds ago, and now the tying run's at the plate. 1 more guy to get. It's Christian Moore, and he's going to ground to third, make the play. It's a long throw across the diamond, and it's in time. We get out of that jam, but now 2 solo shots in the 7th, and it's a 1-run game all of a sudden. This is maybe the 3rd game I've entered this entire video, and it is a very exciting one. Ronnie Henriquez is in to get the save. This was a big move to acquire him ahead of the deadline. We are counting on him at the back end of the bullpen. He gets Blade to strike out. That's 1. Arenado strikes out. That's 2. And now a grounder to short. No issues for Tovar. We narrowly escape the Angels. Naylor with a homer, 2 doubles, and 5 RBI, paid for about $1 million of his contract in 1 game. We would go on to sweep LA in that series and then win 4 straight to end the month of July. We're still in 4th place, but we're 6 games above 500 and just 1 game out of the wild card. And now it's time to view our draft picks. I honestly have no idea what to expect here, and that is a lot of mid. Stuart Pate is as advertised, power and defense. We'll need some development elsewhere, but pretty excited about him. Definitely a fun build there for sure. And now looking at Bill Casey, fairly well-rounded, but nothing special. Lawrence King has got higher potential at 88, and he does have 96 stamina, which is overkill. Ray Lopez is our highest potential pick in this class. He's at 91, 21-year-old third baseman, defense first, plate skills lacking. And Keith Davis is disappointing, coming in right at the low end of his potential range. 79 was the minimum. He came in at 80. He's fine. Took a total guess at Clemente Alvarez. Did not work out too great, but his stats are good for having C potential. And then finally, we got another starter here, 76 overall. Nothing more than depth in the farm system or another trade piece. For sure, our worst draft so far in this video. This class was not very good, though. Scrolling through the other teams' picks, I'm not seeing much high potential at all. All right, let's keep pushing forward. We need to have a strong August. And a weekend series against the Dodgers is a great proving ground as we end up with a sweep. They would get us back winning the next series a week later, but we do finish August 10 games above 500. And we find ourselves in the last wildcard spot with 2 other NL West teams on the board here. Halfway through September, we vaulted up to 14 games above 500 and in 3rd place. And we're hanging on to the second wildcard spot, but it's really close between us and the Padres and Phillies. This is a massive series against the Padres. We're currently 1 game ahead of them. Here we go. We win game 1, win game 2, and we sweep them. And with that, we have clinched a spot in the wild card. Well, we made the push, and it paid off after a great September. We are headed to the postseason for the first time, finishing 89-73. No surprise, Josh Naylor was our best hitter this year with an .871 OPS, 31 homers, and 105 RBI. It was Charlie Condon, however, who led our team in slugging. He came in with 29 home runs in 125 games. And we're going to have him for a while. I'm very excited to see him break out. I think I mentioned this way back in the beginning of the video, but Tovar usually does not sim too well offensively, but that was not the case this year as he came in with an .806 OPS, 100 points higher than his career average. And with his contributions on the bases and defensively, he had 6.3 WAR. And that was the highest on the team by quite a bit, so you could argue he was our best player. And look who was in second, Marlon Jackson. Some fantastic improvement to his plate skills and defense. He came in with a .361 on-base percentage. I'm going to try to extend him for as long as possible to replace Doyle, but I got a sneak peek, and he's going to be really expensive. The pitching staff managed to hold it together, and I brought up Griffin Herring as part of September call-ups, and he pitched well, but the whip is a little concerning. But looking at the full-time guys, Jacob, Berzicki, and Halverson were great in the bullpen. Ronnie Henriquez was really good for us, and I think this was a smart move. We're going to have him for a while. Kasparius and Christian Scott were our 2 best starters. Kasparius really turned things around. And he's actually pushed past his ceiling up to 80 overall despite having C potential. Just wrapping up here, Angel Zerpa did get things together with a .376 ERA in 83 innings. And everybody finished with ERAs under 5, which is a big difference from where we started out this year. Steele Hall actually made the playoff roster here. I want him to play 3rd base and hit against righties this postseason. He developed really well and way outpaced Ethan Holiday this year. Everything else remains the same, and I'm excited to see what we got. Maybe we can make a miracle run as we start the wild card series with a loss against Arizona 6-7. No, I'm not going to say it. Things are moving quickly as we're already facing elimination, facing Corbin Burns. Hopefully the offense comes to play today. Christian Scott will be our Game 2 starter, and he gives up a solo shot to Cattell in the first. He settled in nicely, though, and we've got 2 on for Doyle, who strikes out. And this has been a very low-scoring game. Not a lot of offense. The Diamondbacks only have 1 hit, and it was that home run. Scott's really pitching a gem. We cannot let 1 solo shot beat us, but now they're starting to get a couple of base runners, and they score again. We finally get Corbin Burns out of the game. Justin Martinez comes in, and he has a clean 8th. And the Mountain is the D-backs closer, and we're down to our final out. Count is full. We need a base runner. Can Condon come through? He strikes out. Scott had a great start, but the offense ran and hid today, and that is going to be it for our postseason run. The Royals go on to take down the Dodgers to win the World Series. And now it's already time for another offseason. We did take a big step in the right direction, though, having our best season yet, 16 games above 500. That is good. And we do have quite a few young guys in our lineup that are still getting better. I see that Hunter Goodman is a free agent this year. I wanted to check in on him, and I think we might have made the right move here. He had 1 good season with 2.5 WAR, but outside of that, not great. I don't think we're going to be very active in free agency at all this year. I think most of the improvements are going to come in-house. And we've got a lot of guys up for ARB, and most of them are going to have to go. I want to start this offseason off with a huge blockbuster trade. I'm looking for an ace that we can have for a little while, which is really difficult considering our budget is super tight. But I see Cruz Schoolcraft on the Nationals with 0 MLB service. 23-year-old lefty with a lot of potential. I don't know if he'll be ace level next season, but we can project him out for the future. And it's time to move off of one of our cornerstone players, Brenton Doyle, who's in the last year of his contract. The Rockies are very weak in center field, and with James Wood on the left side and Dylan Cruz on the right side, they can build the best outfield in the MLB. I think they'd be super interested in doing that, and I do need to package in a starter, Griffin Herring, who did impress in a brief stint last year. I think this is a fun move for both teams, and this is a huge way to start the offseason. Now, don't get me wrong, we've got a ton of good pitchers in the farm system, but they're still a little ways away, and our window to win is opening up right now. These guys would all be part of the future, but I want to win sooner rather than later. Another reason to make that move is Marlon Jackson can take over center field. He's got the speed and the range, and his batting profile projects better than Doyle. And with a little bit of deja vu here, I want to lock him down in center field with a contract very similar to the one we gave Doyle at the beginning of this video. And I'm going to go on to make a bunch of rapid-fire moves here, starting with packaging Murakami, Halverson, and Nunez for a shortstop prospect. Joe Mack is headed out the door for a reliever prospect on the Phillies. Alec Drake was excellent for us, but he is now too expensive, so he is out the door along with a C potential starter Joe Drake in return for a catcher. I really wanted to extend Mackenzie Acevedo as well for as long as I could, but I don't have enough room in our budget. I've got about 10 mil in pending contracts, and right now we are at 89 million. Marlon has become our new highest paid player, just outpacing Naylor. And now that it's all said and done, we are sitting at 98 million, just barely under the threshold. I think we're in a pretty good spot. 100 million is a good number to be challenging enough, but to still have the ability to give out some long-term deals. Not sure why I even clicked sim on this. We're not eligible for the first pick. We're going to be picking at 21 next year. I think I've got to do a Rule 5 only at some point because eventually the Rule 5 draft starts to get pretty juicy. A lot of B potential young players in here. This would have been great several years ago, but our roster's pretty loaded up at this point. We are in a great spot heading into this next season. The best lineup that we've put out on the field for sure. Jackson and Conklin are going to get on base like crazy. Naylor and Acevedo are going to slug, and the rest of these guys can all hold their own. We've also got a lot of talent and flexibility on the bench, too. Steele Hall is making his way up to the majors this year. He's got good contact against righties, and he's improved a little bit faster than Holiday. But we will have our eye on Holiday as a mid-season or September call-up. The pitching rotation's also in a great spot. I think these guys are going to play a lot better than last year, and I'm excited that we've got an ace on the way. I mentioned before, I'm not sure if Schoolcraft's going to be dominant this year, but he's going to continue to develop. And we've really bolstered the bullpen with Ronnie Henriquez, and now our prospect Keith Karros is coming up. Starting the year with 3 lefties in the pen, so I'm hoping to not have to scramble for any midseason. And the organization as a whole is in a great spot. We've got 18 prospects in the top 100. Let's get this season underway. I am hoping for a nice playoff push. We're out of the gates a little slow, though, 3-5, and I do see that it looks like Schoolcraft struggled in his first start, not getting through the third. And I'm going to try things a little differently this year and lean into discovery. We're picking late in the first round, so let's see what we can uncover. Well, all right then. Week 1, we just found the number 1 player in the class. We'll see if that holds up, but off to a good start. Checking in now a day before the draft, we were in second place, 6 games above 500, but almost 10 games behind the Dodgers. Good news is we're in the second place for the wild card. It is a tight race. Tovar has been our best hitter by OPS, which is honestly a surprise. He was always good, but he's really become valuable in the last few seasons. Naylor's doing well with 23 homers and 62 RBI. And in the first year of his new deal, Marlon Jackson has the exact same OPS as last year. The most disappointing guy for me has been Mackenzie Acevedo, who has the best skills on the team besides Naylor. Ronnie Henriquez has been exceptional as our closer, 16-1 with a .02 ERA. If you remember, we picked up Justin Brule a while ago. He's improving nicely, one of our lefties, 52 innings, 2.39 ERA. Christian Scott's excellent as always. Xavier Curry with a bounce-back year, and our rookie closer, Karros, is doing okay. I did go in and watch a game where he walked 3 batters in a row, and then we brought in another pitcher, and he gave up a grand slam. And you can see the whip is pretty high, so as expected, walks are kind of an issue. Getting kind of what I expected from Cruz Schoolcraft, but that's okay. I know he's got a high ceiling, and we just need to be patient as he continues to develop his hits per 9, home runs per 9. Fitz is not doing well again, and then I'm disappointed in Zerpa. I went out and seeked him out in free agency after coming off of 4 straight incredible seasons, and he's not been good with us at all. Nobody's really tearing it up in AAA, and that includes Ethan Holiday, who still has not figured it out at the plate. I may have to send him back down to AA. I would have expected that he would have been a much bigger part of our rebuild by now. There are some promising things on the pitching side in the minors, though, and I do see that David Shields is looking good. More pitching success in AA as Patrick Reyes is really impressing. He is injured right now, but he got 90 innings at a 2.5. And then Milt Walls, a closer we drafted a few years ago, is 34-2 in saves. Not to mention Escalona right behind him, who I also believe we drafted, has a 1.14 ERA, and with that home runs per 9, could be interesting in Colorado. And lastly, before we go into the draft, I am glad to see that in AA, Danny Ash has had a much better season. He had like a 640 OPS last year. He's one of our promising outfielders. And if you remember, he was the guy that I picked because he has that catcher secondary, which is interesting. But the defense, I don't know if it's ever going to pan out. I would say the discovery, scouting, and drafting went okay. We do have quite a few position players on the board. My top two are both discovery guys. Chris German, the first one, looks to have maybe the best bat in the class. We'll be very happy taking him with the 20th pick, and I'd also be happy with Lewis Ellis, ranked 11th switch hitting infielder who has that classic contact build. And these guys are discovery, so maybe we can get them both. After that, I found Ryan Beavers, who is a gem utility player with great contact vision and discipline, no power at all. And for a utility guy, he really doesn't have much defense. But he could be a fun pick. He's going to have high potential, almost guaranteed. I didn't finish scouting Keith Radatz, but I got a good feeling he would be a decent mid-round pick. I think he's going to have high potential because he stayed in the same spot as where he started. And then I've got two closers on the board. First up, J.J. Ring, 19 years old, high potential, 26th rank. And then we've also got the 83rd ranked Jeff Ullman, who has a really locked-in type potential range between 83 and 88. I don't have a ton of good pitchers on the board, but I do have that one discovery guy we found who has a high potential range, ranked 7th. Ooh, I had Keith Radatz on the board as a mid-round option. I didn't finish scouting him and had a feeling he'd have high potential. He's gone with the 3rd pick. And as we get to our pick, most of the guys that I want are still here, including my top two. I feel like I've got a lot of guys with the type of build that Ellis has, that contact build, so I am more interested in the plate skills of Chris German or Herman, probably from the DR. I am going with him. Most guys are still here for the 39th pick. We've got Ellis on the board, but he's discovery. I want to take the chance that he falls. I don't think Ryan Beavers will fall because of how much he rose up the board. And now we'll grab Ellis for the 56th overall pick. And unfortunately, J.J. Ring got taken 81st. I was not able to get him. I kind of forgot about him, to be honest. I would have liked to take him. Hopefully we can come back around for Jeff Ullman, but I want to take Rosales here with the 101st pick, 7th ranked player in the class, great value. And now Ullman is here for 131. And there's nobody else left on the board, so I've got to go back to the class and find somebody. How about we take a flyer on a second baseman, Jose Reyna? No clue here. Oh, shoot, we actually have one more pick. I got to find somebody else. You might see these two relievers here, but I can tell you that they're too good to be true, so it's not going to be either one of these guys. And same with this guy here, Stefan. Actually, I lied. We've got nobody else better. I think maybe Padiachuk is maybe slightly less too good to be true. I don't know. Ronnie Henriquez is a very well-deserving all-star this year. I think his ERA even went down from the last clip. Josh Naylor is the top first baseman in the league, beating out Spencer Torkelson. These guys were in free agency at the same time, but Naylor was asking for like $5 million less, so I went with him. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Not till after I signed him, unless I missed it, but Ellis is injured. I don't really see a need to make a move here before the deadline, and we don't exactly have the money for it anyway. Ooh, Joe Mack got done dirty. He's on the trading block. He is in AAA right now. Throwback to Daniel Schneemann. He is not doing too hot. I don't know if I can ever sign this guy again. I feel like I always mess up and sign him. Actually, I am going to make some kind of a move here. I think we've given Richard Fitz enough of a leash. He's not figured it out. And I'd like to bring David Shields up and give him a shot in the majors. He's pitching well at AAA. The Mariners will give me a closer and reliever prospect. That sounds like a good deal. All right, let's see what Shields has got. And that's two lefties in the rotation now. I like that. All right, we're 59 and 49, still in second place, but playing very well. And let's take a look at our draft picks. That's a lot of blue there. Chris German, 87 potential, 67 overall. Plate skills are going to be fantastic. Defensively, profiling more as a first baseman, which is a secondary, and he's got a lot of speed. He's going to steal some bags. Higher potential for Ryan Beavers here at 93, typical contact build. I like it. We saw Lewis Ellis got dinged for his injury, but despite that, he's still coming in pretty good. I'd like to know where he would have been at if that didn't happen. We only took one starter, and we hit their low hits per 9, but everything else is very solid for Rosales. 86 potential for Rosales, and 86 for Jeff Ullman, who has 90 clutch. I don't think I've ever seen a pitcher out of the gate with that much clutch. That is pretty cool. We'll see what he turns into. And then we totally just randomly picked Jose Reyna. 47 overall, 92 potential. Worked out pretty good. Here's J.J. Ring, that closer that I wanted. He's looking pretty good. And now as we enter September, we're 74 and 62, 12 games above 500, but still 9 games behind the Dodgers. I don't think we're going to be able to catch them, but the good news is we are in the first wild card spot with a little bit of breathing room. It's still close. And I'm going to make one move here for September call-ups and bring up John McCain, the president himself. Good numbers in AAA, good stats against righties. Let's give him some at-bats at the bigs. Johnny McCain is part of the recession plan for Braden Montgomery and Cole Carriag. Both of these guys are going into their second year of ARB next year, and they'll probably be too expensive. So I need to see what McCain's got. Stats look good. And by the way, David Shields, since coming up from AAA back into the rotation, is pitching very well. 41 innings, 3.07 ERA, 1.12 WHIP. I'm feeling pretty confident as we start to work through September. We do have a lot of division games here. We win this series against the Giants, and now this weekend we play the Padres. Oh, I need to fix the roster. All right, back to the calendar here. We lose that series against the Padres, and now I need to fix another roster. And now we're taking on LA. We only win 1 of 3. Taking on the Padres again, we win 2 of 3. Oh, there's a weekend game. Let's do that one as well. Okay, we win 3 of 4. And now for the last series of the year against San Francisco, we win the first game, the second game, and we finish the season on a win, and we're 89-73. So once again, we're going to be a wild card team. I see us in the top right there. We're taking on Washington. And if you remember, that's where we sent Brenton Doyle. They've got this 3-headed monster in the outfield. And Doyle had a pretty good year, 733 OPS, 4 WAR, solid. And we ultimately went with Marlon Jackson in center, who ended up having an 808 OPS with 5.6 WAR. I see a little exclamation point here. We had an award. What did we get? Hank Aaron for Tovar. Wow. Snuck up on me a little bit just how good he was hitting this year. 297 average, 30 homers, and 90 RBI. My perception of him has really changed throughout this rebuild here, especially as he's rounded into being better offensively. Let's see how much WAR he put up. 8.8 WAR. And we're paying him $9.1 million. We've got him for another year. After that, we'll have to go with some of the younger guys. But man, what a player. I was curious if we might sneak a Rookie of the Year this year, but that did not happen. And I can see why the Dodgers are dominating, as Sasaki and Yamamoto were both in the top 3 for the Cy Young. League leaders, okay, Tovar led the league in WAR, so you'd think maybe he'd have a good case for MVP. But in this game, the counting stats matter so much. Look at Shohei over there, 276 with 34 homers, but he had 132 RBI. That's going to carry the load for him. Tovar, of course, leading the way with Josh Naylor right behind him. He had a 518 slug, 38 homers, career high, 108 RBIs, career high, 4.7 WAR, very consistent the last 3 years. Clearly, he took a leap from 27 into 28. Condon, Calez, Montgomery, Conklin, Hall, Acevedo, all with OPSs above 700. I am a little disappointed in Acevedo, though. Look at how good those hitting stats are at this point, and he only hit 232, pretty low on base, not really slugging, 21 homers. Not sure what's going on here. I'm glad that I didn't give him a huge extension, although I still would be willing to bet on his future success. Where I think we really took a step forward this year was in our pitching rotation. It is a lot of the same guys, but they just played better. Ronnie Henriquez was exceptional, 35-4, 71 innings, 1.64 ERA, 0.97 WHIP. That is out of this world. A lot to like there. Berzicki and Zerpa, not so much. And Cruz, I mentioned it before. I was willing to eat one not-so-good year here for him to bet on his future success and development as an ace. Continuing to take some steps in the right direction, and now we face Washington here in the wild card. I see in the top right that Shane Bieber is their ace. Backtracking a little bit as I was setting up the playoff roster, I forgot to check in on McCain, who did play 18 games, 70 at-bats. Not bad, 747 slugging. We'll take that. Here's the playoff rotation. Scott, Kasparius, Belloso, and David Shields is going to sneak in there as the 4th starter. I'm going to put Cruz in long relief for this one alongside Tristan Beck. And then our high leverage guys will be Karros, Xavier Curry, who had a really good bounce back year, and Ronnie Henriquez. All right, let's see what we got here in this postseason. I would expect Brenton Doyle to be pretty highly motivated coming back here to Colorado. We have home field advantage for the series. The Nats have been going through a pretty big rebuild during the same timeline as us, and they won 86 games this year to our 89. We've got the bases loaded with nobody out in the 3rd. Got to get some runs on the board here. Conklin got diced up. Can Naylor drive somebody in? Oh no, that might be a double play. Flip the 2nd over to 1st, and we don't put up any runs. Really poor situational hitting there, but so far Christian Scott's only given up 2 hits, but there's a 2-run shot. Bases loaded in the 4th with 2 outs this time. Steele Hall at the plate, 1 for 1 today. Payoff pitch. Hit hard, out into right, carry ball. Cruz is going back, he makes the catch. That's 4 at-bats with the bases loaded now, and we haven't gotten a single run. Bieber still in this game, pitching into the 7th, and he has been dominant today. Naylor with a ground ball, that is fair. 1 run is in, runners are on the corners now. And Cash is going to pull Bieber. Disappointing regular season for Acevedo. He can make up for it with a good postseason. He's going to ground it to 2nd, though. Kyle Karros gives up a run, make that 3 runs in his first postseason appearance. That's disappointing. And the table is set in the 9th. Bases loaded again. Hank Aaron Award winner Tovar at the plate. He gets a fastball down the middle, lines it out to right. That will score a run, but we need more than that. Tying run still at the plate. It's Braden Montgomery. 2-2 pitch. Oh, it's on the corner. Good effort from Scott there on the mound, giving up just 2 in 6 innings pitched, but our offense could not come through in the big spots. So we lose game 1, and now I'm going to simulate game 2, which we also lose, and again we're eliminated in the wild card. That is pretty frustrating. We had a good team this year. The Dodgers defeat the Mariners in the World Series. Back-to-back 89-win seasons and back-to-back losses in the wild card. We got to take a step forward next year, and I need to start by hiring an entirely new coaching staff. Montgomery and Carrig have been good outfielders and depth pieces for us, but they're going to have to go this offseason. They're getting too expensive in arbitration. We've got a lot of relievers up for ARB. Probably bring a few of these guys back. Even though Tovar is in the last season of his contract, I have no plans to trade him away. He is by far the best option we have at shortstop. The way things are going right now, Steele Hall is probably going to take the mantle there after we lose Tovar. And maybe someday Ethan Holiday will get it together, but he just cannot figure it out so far. In order to stay cheap like we are in this video, we've got to keep that steady churn of prospects coming up. The Royals have a center fielder that I'm interested in. The arm and the accuracy leaves a little bit to be desired, but the fielding and reaction is good. Hitting stats project well. So this will be the first trade of the offseason. Trying to plan for a world where Steele Hall gets expensive and Holiday doesn't work out. We do have Bryant Pear, but after that, I'd like to get a younger shortstop in here. 22-year-old Sam Kelso in the Braves farm system looks like a good option. And the same with Carrig. Montgomery has gotten too expensive, so I'm going to trade him away. Definitely trying to bring Kasparius back, as well as Justin Brule, who's left-handed, still has 2 minor league options remaining, and he is cheap. I don't think Tristan Beck is coming back. He has not performed as well as I thought he would. And then I got to figure out what I want to do with Curry and Brzezicki. Curry's an interesting one. He either has a fantastic season with a ton of innings, or he has a 5 ERA. Everybody has accepted their deals except for Brule, who's got $800K pending. I think he will accept that. And I wanted to leave some room in the budget and see where we were at. We're currently at $86 million, so bump that to $87 after Brule accepts. There's 2 guys that I've held off on to try to decide what to do, Acevedo and Schoolcraft. These guys have a lot of talent. They're going to become expensive, and I wanted to look at doing some pre-ARB extensions for either one or both of them. Looking at the pitching staff, though, we have got a ton of talent on the way up, especially in Double-A. There are some incredible arms in here. I don't think it's worth trying to pre-ARB extend him, so I'm just going to go ahead and renew his deal. But I do think it's going to be worth it to extend Acevedo. His defense has started to get to the point where I think he could play his secondary position of second base. But way more important than that, you don't find plate skills this good just growing on trees. Yes, he had a down year last year, but I expect him to bounce way back and be like a 900 OPS type of guy. He's got the on-base skills, and I think the slugging will continue to develop. I think we should be able to take on a decent term contract, like 4 or 5 years. If you look, Tovar's coming off next year, that's $9 million, and then Naylor, 2 more years at 16. And if you compare very similar plate skills for Naylor compared to Acevedo, and that's why I say I project Acevedo as like a 900 OPS guy, because that's right about where Naylor was the last couple of seasons. It looks like 5 years, 9.5 is about what he's looking for. Let's offer them this deal and see if he accepts it. All right, I had to bump it up just a hair to 9.7, but I think this is a pretty good deal, and next year is a huge year for us. With this being the last year of Tovar, just 2 years left of Naylor, some of these other guys are going to get expensive. Only 2 more years with the god himself, Christian Scott. I do feel like this is an important season to make a deep run and hopefully get a title. Here's the lineup against righties for next season with Jackson, Conklin, Naylor, and Acevedo at the top. A very good top 4, not to mention the Hank Aaron Award winner Tovar in the 5. Don't let me forget about him. Still got some openings here in the bullpen, so let me come back around to that. Here is going to be our rotation. Very similar to last year with David Shields coming in a full-time role. I don't think he'll maintain a 2.85 ERA, but somewhere in the high 3s would be great. I'm never going to pass up an opportunity to scout out the Rule 5 draft. I might pick up a reliever here. Let's see what's available. There actually are a few good options here. I'm looking at Casey Legumina, Mr. Legume. Fairly well-rounded, good walks per 9, home runs per 9 above 70. I think this is a pretty good pick. What is this year going to bring? I'm hoping for a very deep postseason run, but we lose the first two games of the year, and now we take on Cleveland, where we take 2 of 3. Now we face Washington, who knocked us out in the wild card, and they would have knocked us out again. They win 2 of 3 once again. We have yet to get off to a roaring start, if I remember. Maybe there was one good season in there I'm forgetting about, but we always seem to be like 4 and 6 heading into scouting. I do see a few of our key guys are hot right now, though, so hopefully this will turn around soon. Johnny McCain, though, is cold. Not going to talk too much about scouting this year, just like last year. Just going to try to find the best players available and hopefully draft them. We got our get back in April against St. Louis. There was another 2-game series, which I feel like is kind of random, but we're all square now. And the team is playing well. We're 10 games above 500, and we're hunting the Dodgers down. Now just 1 game back. Just quickly looking at the stats, our best full-time guy has been Marlon Jackson at the top there. He is slugging .620, which is impressive. 10 homers already, to up there with Tovar and Condon. And then our rookie Johnny McCain is still developing, not showing too much just yet. And I look on the pitching side, I see a couple of relievers playing well, and then I see Cruz Schoolcraft. What a name, by the way. I don't even think I mentioned that when I traded for him. But he's got a 2.72 ERA this year. So far, so good. Well, we had a rough week here early in June. We're now 7 games behind the Dodgers, but we did just beat them in a 3-game set, so that's a very good sign. Marlon Jackson is having a breakout season. Look at this development. 346 average, 442 on base, 606 slug, 1.048 OPS. This was the very first draft pick of this video. You fast forward a while and look at the impact he's having in the majors. I've got to go check the awards because I think there's a chance he could be here for the MVP. He's not. He is here for the batting title, though, although he's behind Miguel Garcia. Okay, I can see why. That's some great contact. Acevedo's also bouncing back here, developing very nicely. I expected him to play a lot better this year. But I've got a couple concerning developments here. Vaughn Conklin is only 25. This is the catcher that we signed for a while, and he is starting to regress. I'm not as confused by Naylor, though. He is 33 now, so he is starting to regress, but he's still very effective. We pick at 21 this year. My favorite option in the first round, or at least one of them, was taken first overall. And my favorite non-discovery position player, Will Jones, was taken 15th. I've still got a lot of good players on the board. I think Jonas Valencia is going to be my pick here. High floor, pretty high ceiling. Really, it's just the plate skills. I can't turn that down. We jump way down to 54. I've got 2 options here, Gutierrez and Song. I like Gutierrez. I don't know if I love him, and I really do like Tommy Song. He is discovery. There's a chance he could fall, but he's got a fantastic build, super well-rounded, and the one outlier besides pitch break is walks per 9. I cannot turn down a pitcher like him. We're going with Song. And now we'll grab Gutierrez for pick 67. Back to pitchers for pick number 99. Danny Whitehead. Wasn't that like a receiver on the Patriots or something? I don't know. He's got good defense, good speed. Plate skills aren't great, but I like him. We'll take him here. 2 picks left. Even though this closer, Omar Medrano, is injured, I like his stats. Even if he falls down in potential, I still think he's going to be pretty good. And we'll round things out with another Discovery starter. We head into the break 54 and 43. So far, so good. We're not blowing the doors off anybody like the Dodgers, but we are playing well. And if I take a look at the standings, we're currently 4 games up in the wild card. Looks like we're playoff bound once again. Let's check out the All-Star voting. I can already see that Acevedo has been voted in. I see Kasparius is here. He's pitching great. 2.95 ERA. That's a career low so far. And we got him for $3.3 million. And here is Acevedo developing extremely well, really rounding out nicely, up to 89 overall. He's got 25 homers, 77 ribbies. He's already outpaced last year. Tovar is here once again. He's up to 97 overall, although it looks like he's at the very early stages of regressing. Jackson continues to absolutely light it up, adding a bunch of contact, defense. Just cannot say enough about this guy this year. And then taking a look at our high leverage guys, seeing some good numbers here. Keith Karros continuing to develop. This guy's awesome. Look at that build, 98 hits per 9, 96 Ks per 9. I'm really happy with the squad. I don't think I'm going to make any moves at the trade deadline. I'll check it out, let you know, of course, but I think we're cruising. Looks like the injury did hit Medrano pretty hard here. I can't figure out how this works. I think it's just random. Sometimes guys hardly get impacted. Sometimes they get whacked pretty bad. If you know how that works, please let me know in the comments below. I'm seeing a couple potential plays here. Luke Stevenson, we could bring him in to catch. He's not exactly tearing it up. I think I'll probably hold tight. If things get really bad with Conklin, I've got Ramon Ramirez as a backup, and he's pretty solid. So I think we're probably good there. We always have to go bargain hunting here, and I do see Theo Gillen. This is a Rays prospect in real life, my favorite team, and he's getting a lot of playing time this year. I like that he's well-rounded, and he's also going to be cheap for a while. I'll probably send him down to the minors, but I could use him as a utility guy. Let's see what it's going to take here. We've got a ton of starters. I'm not super high on Jeffrey Marcus. I think he's probably okay. That's going to get the job done, though. Let's make this deal. Let's take a look at our draft picks from this year, and that is underwhelming for sure. Well, it's a good thing I took Tommy Song because he is definitely the best player that we got here. 87 potential, good stats. What happened to Jonas Valencia here? Our scout got this one a little bit wrong. He's 66 overall, 79 potential. I mean, he's not terrible. The defense is not what it cracked up to be for sure. Power hitting right fielder Gutierrez looks all right. We'll have to work on the plate skills. And after that, man, just not a lot to love here. 82 potential for Ramiro, just well-rounded, not bad. Whitehead's coming in, not looking great at all. And surprisingly, the last pick of the draft was one of our better ones, left-handed starter, Andre Soto. I feel like I definitely had to miss out on somebody here. Let's take a look through the class. Here's a good closer. Project center fielder to the Rays. Yeah, this was not a good class at all. Okay, here we go. Pirates made out all right, although it is a closer and a reliever. This reliever looks crazy. And then they got a good late-round catcher. Yeah, they won this draft for sure. Disappointing, but our focus this season is making a deep playoff run, so it's all right. 90 wins this year, 90 and 72. We make the postseason once again in the wild card. Looks like we'll be playing the Phillies. We finally broke past that 89 win barrier and got 90 this season. We did have a league leader, Marlon Jackson, with 9 WAR. That is exceptional, beating out Ellie De La Cruz. He just went nuts this year. Look at the development, 316 batting average, 406 on base, 575 slug. This guy's a 5-tool player, switch hitter, unbelievable. He had 23 stolen bases, 33 homers, 172 hits. Outside of Jackson, Naylor, Tovar, and Acevedo were very good, and I see Johnny McCain, our rookie, improved quite a bit, up to an 833 OPS. Pretty much everybody was solid this year. Our worst hitter would be Von Conklin, who's confusingly regressing a lot. Looking at the pitching staff, Keith Karros was our best arm in the bullpen, understandably so. He also developed very well, and he got 96 innings pitched. That's good for a 10.8 Ks per 9, 0.37 homers per 9, 2.69 FIP. This guy is really good. Christian Scott, David Shields, and Ben Kasparius were all pretty good in the starting rotation. Schoolcraft was right there at a 4.28. Henriquez was super confusing this season. He was 45-7 in saves, which is good, but he did have a 4.61 ERA. Kind of strange. Hopefully he's good for the playoffs. And up at the top right there, we will take on Philly, and then we get to face the Dodgers. They were unbelievable this year, 106 wins. Here is our rotation with Scott, Kasparius, Shields, and Schoolcraft as our 1 through 4. Curry, Brule, and Dodd in middle relief, and then Legume, Karros, and Henriquez. Lineup is pretty much the same, except I brought up Theo Gillen for some flexibility and defensive replacement if needed. All right, let's get game 1 started here. Christian Scott will be taking on Andrew Painter. Phillies have a pretty good team. They won 84 games this year, nothing crazy. You saw Trey Turner there. They also have Dylan Cruz and William Contreras. And then they have Painter and Wood as their 1-2. I actually was almost going to trade for Wood at some point, but he is not doing too well. And then I look down here, and I see Emmanuel Clase is their closer. He could be a problem. We definitely don't want to try to make a comeback in the 9th. Not a whole lot happening in this game until Miller just hit a 3-run shot. Phillies are up 3-1. Miller adds another one. It's 4-1. Clase is actually coming in the 8th and goes clean. Oh, okay, it's Brash that's their closer. Well, either way, he shuts us down, and the Phillies win 4-1. Once again, facing elimination here in the wild card round, we've got to try to bounce back here in Game 2. The President at the plate with the bases loaded. 1-2. Oh, we got him. Deja vu from last year, not getting any runs across with the bases loaded. Getting something going now in the 5th here. 5 straight base runners. 5 straight base runners. Oh, it just keeps going. We end up putting up 3. We're up 5-1 here in Game 2. Bullpen is doing their thing here. Dylan Dodd coming in to finish things off in the ninth. He's relieved for Enriquez because the bases are now loaded. This is not good as the tying run is at the plate with 1 out. We know Enriquez struggled a little bit this year. And that's lined to the left, but it hangs up. Just need one more good pitch. That's right down the middle, but it'll work. Marlins got it, and we win Game 2. David Shields for Game 3. I can't remember if this is his first postseason start or not. Turner gets picked off, and he gives up a couple hits, but it is a clean first inning. And Naylor gets us on the board early. Rincones with a solo shot. It's all tied up. Marlon Jackson goes yard to give us the lead again. It's 2-1. Oppo, that was a bomb. Shields seems to have figured it out here, putting up zeros. This is definitely still a little too close for comfort. We need an insurance run. Tough guy to get insurance off of. Clase's on the mound, but we've got 2 on, nobody out. Condon, that's a double play, 2 out now. Our franchise player, Tovar, at the plate. Been here since day 1. 3-2 pitch, ball 4. Conklin, regressing. What's he got? Nothing. Enriquez just 1 out away, but in a bad count here against Crawford. That was right down the middle. Got away with that one. Here's the 3-2. Grounded hard, but right to second. The Rockies make it out of the wild card. And our reward is a date with the Dodgers. To say this would be an upset is a pretty huge understatement, but we win Game 1 and we win Game 2. Game 2 was just 1-0. Looks like Scott outdueled Yamamoto. 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs. Clean work from the bullpen. That is beautiful. The Dodgers with 106 wins this year pretty much put the division out of reach for us from like the second week. But we can make up for all that with a good start from Kasparius and some offense today. Pretty easy to see why they're dominating with players like Ellie De La Cruz, Bellinger, Stowers, Garcia, Smith, PCA. Not to mention a veteran Ohtani who's regressed to 80 overall. Definitely feels like a David versus Goliath situation, and we're down 1-0 early. Conklin gets us on the board. 2-run homer. All of a sudden, we're back in front, but the Dodgers are cooking again. Bases loaded. That's a double play. And now we've got 2 on in the third. 1 out. That's lined into right. Stay fair. Oh! Acheveto's going to ground that to third. That'll bring a run home. We put up another one, and now Shohei's coming in relief. Hits McCain. Jackson with a 2-run double. It's all of a sudden 6-1. Make that 7-1. Torkelson cuts into the lead, though. It's 7-4. And now we're breaking away with a 3-run 6th inning. Looking very good to close this out. And that is exactly what we would do, winning this game 14-5. And the Rockies just swept the Dodgers in the DS. And the boys are fired up. The Dodgers can't believe it. And we are NLCS bound. 18 hits, 14 runs for the boys. It'll either be the Brewers and the Braves for the next series, and it's going to be the Brewers. Christian Scott and Cade Horton in Game 1. I'm going to simulate a few games here. We win Game 1 6-3, lose Game 2 10-0. Now we're headed home and we win Game 1, and we lose Game 2. It's been going back and forth the whole series. Brewers have a pretty good team, some exceptional defenders like Joseph Ortiz. Jefferson Cuero behind the dish is nasty. At the plate, they have a power-hitting first baseman, Andrew Fisher, and then they have Jesus Made, real-life prospect. And, of course, Jackson Chourio, who is on a tear in the postseason. And this series has really been going back and forth. We win one, they win one. We've got to try to separate here. Tovar brings one in here in the second. It's 1-0 and now 2-0 on a McCain single, and we're running it up here. Shota Imanaga is the starter today. He gives up a solo shot to Acevedo. And Christian Scott has been really good in the postseason, 2.61 ERA so far. And he brings a no-hitter into the fifth where Collins doubles, and now he comes home to score. Kalaz, 3-run shot. We're up 7-2. As long as the bullpen can hold this down, we will take a lead in the series. And here is Ronnie Henriquez in the ninth. And there is a strike 3. Crowd is pumped up. Boys are pumped up. We're up 3-2. And we are just 1 win away from heading to the World Series. Ben Kasparius needs to bounce back a little bit. Not great in the postseason to this point. And he gives up 2 in the second on a triple from Cam Smith. And another one comes home on an error. We've got to answer back, and Marlon does just that with a 2-run shot. And we're down 4-2. Naylor at the plate with 2 on, 1 out. Worked a good count here. 3-1 is grounded. That's going to be a double play. Oh, he made it in time. Okay. So we've still got a chance here for Tovar. Brewers bringing a righty, and he strikes out Tovar. Still early, but not really feeling like our day today. And we're back in the top of the 8th with 2 on for Trey Morgan. Base hit would be massive here. 2-2 pitch is killed. Morgan back into right center and gone. That is what I'm talking about. Stride, load, bomb. 418. And we would go on to carry this lead through the 9th and win 5-4. We're making a pretty good run here, headed to the World Series. 2031 National League champs. How about Trey Morgan with that 3-run shot? He's actually rounded into a really good hitter and developed up to 82 overall. He only played 32 games this year, but he did have an 815 OPS. More importantly, though, he's a postseason hero. And now in the World Series, we'll be taking on the Red Sox. This team is pretty disgusting with a 97 overall Cedon in center. He had 39 home runs this year. They've got Roman Anthony, Ivan Herrera, Bregman, Caglione, Perdomo. They're ranked the 4th overall team by the CPU, but I see they won 89 games this year. So we actually were a little bit better than them. Here we go. Time for the World Series. And we've got home field advantage over the Red Sox. 2 down in the first. Scott looking for a perfect start, and he strikes out Roman Anthony. Great first inning from Scott. And the Red Sox starter is Kyson Witherspoon. 93 overall, really good stats. Has not pitched that well in the majors, though, surprisingly. The whip is kind of high. Both starters settling in here. Christian Scott is the first base runner he's given up there, and now there's 2 on for Bregman. And this save file, he got extended by the Red Sox. We'll see what's going to happen in real life as he's a free agent, decided to opt out. And he is a very dangerous hitter, especially in the postseason. And that's hit hard, but right to Tovar. And we're going to get out of this inning. And if you're wondering if some of the stats look a little different, like Trey Morgan batting 143, I unfortunately saved over my original file. And I had a bit of a heart attack that I lost hours and hours of footage, but luckily I had a backup saved right before this postseason. So I had to re-simulate it a few times to get us right here to facing the Red Sox. But we're back to where we would have been if that never happened, as Trey Morgan strikes out on that slider. Thankfully, I uploaded to the cloud because probably this video would have never made it out. Otherwise, I would have been way too frustrated to film all of that again. 2-2. Hit hard right off Witherspoon, back to the catcher. Throw to first is in time. Pretty sure he blocked that from going up the middle for an RBI single. Now we're in some real trouble. It's Bregman again at the plate with the bases loaded. And he strikes out. That's 1. Now you just need to get Roman Anthony out. Easier said than done. 2-2 pitch. And that is a grand slam. Yeah. Yep, that'll do it. Okay, not exactly what we were looking for there. And now we're down 4, but we do have some time to try to make it up. If the bullpen can keep this close and give us a chance, we'll see what the offense can come up with. Well, the bullpen has not kept it close. And the offense came up with nothing. We lose game 1, 6-1. Kasparius takes on Harrison in game 2, which we win 6-4. And now game 3, Shields versus Brown, simulating this one as well. We lose 8-1. Let's see if we can even up the series. Schoolcraft versus Phillips, we do 14-1. So we lose 8-1, win 14-1, and the series is now a best of 3. And so it's time for game 5 in Boston. This is a swing game here. The series at 2-2. It's going to be Witherspoon for the Sox and Scott for the Rockies. Whoever wins this game is going to have a pretty big advantage here in this series, going up 3-2 as Marlon can't quite beat that out. Johnny McCain, El Presidente with a solo shot, and we're up 1-0. And now Josh Naylor, solo homer, it's 2-0. Scott's been pretty good so far today, only 1 hit through 4. Navigating this lineup very nicely. There's a walk to Perdomo, but gets a strikeout. Acevedo! That is murdered. 428, 114 off the bat, 2-run shot to extend the lead. What a swing. Perfect. 114, 33 launch. Things could get a little scary here. Legume on the mound, 2 on, 1 out. The Rule 5 draft pickup now pitching in the biggest game of his career, in the biggest spot of his career, and that's line to first. Could be a double play. It is. Naylor. I feel like he made a couple of plays like this during the postseason this year for the Mariners. What a play. The go-ahead run is at the plate in Marcelo Meyer, who's turned into a very good player now in 2031. And he hits that hard, out into right, tracking it. And, oh, it's caught! El Presidente McCain. Back-to-back incredible defensive plays for the boys. 95 Ks per 9, 95 hits per 9. Keith Karros is in to close this out. He's got the first 2 outs. He's looked really sharp in the 9th here. 1 strike away. That is hit well towards the monster. Looks like it's going to hang up. And it will. We win Game 5 to take a 3-2 series lead. And with that 3-2 series lead, we now get to head back home with 2 chances to win the World Series. Ben Kasparias takes the mound today, looking to win us a title. The biggest game of everybody's lives on this field here, as a solo shot from Bregman gives the Red Sox an early lead. And that brings up Charlie Condon, who loves hitting at home in Denver. And he gets a little soft. Dribbler into right. That could bring home multiple runs. Throw is headed home, not in time. And Charlie Condon delivers. Did not hit it hard, but put it in a perfect spot. And we add on 2 more. A couple of singles and a double from Tovar and a double from Conklin. We're now up 5-1. Kasparias, though, gives 2 right back. And Kasparias is starting to tire out here, so Dylan Dodd is going to come in from the bullpen, and he gets both lefties out. And Bon Conklin adds on another. It's 6-3 in Game 6. And not much else has happened. It's remained 6-3. We're in the top of the 9th, 3 outs away from the title. There's a ground ball over to third, across the diamond, in time, 1 out. And now here comes the southpaw, Keith Karros. 1-2 pitch to Marcelo Meyer, swing and a miss. And now just 1 out away, Perdomo comes in. This franchise has undergone a massive rebuild from the lowest lows to the highest highs as the Rockies win the World Series. Pandemonium in Denver, we've done it. Truly a team effort in this postseason run. Everybody seemed to have their moment. Marlon Jackson, can't believe it. And there's Rob Manfred handing the trophy to Coach. Raise it up, big fella. And there you have it. We win the World Series, completing our challenge for this video. Let's take a look at the awards here. Bon Conklin with the World Series MVP and Josh Naylor with the playoff MVP. Conklin with 2 homers, batting almost 600 in the postseason. Despite regressing, man, he is still hitting well. What a bizarre regression to have, by the way, at 25. There's Josh Naylor, who had 5 home runs in the postseason and 18 RBI. And just as I'm wrapping things up here, Nolan Arenado, Rocky legend, has been inducted to the Hall of Fame. And if we take a look at the lineup and the roster that got it done here, Marlon Jackson really became a talisman player for us. 28 years old, had an insane MVP-level season with 9.2 WAR. And the signing of Josh Naylor proved to be huge. It was tough to fit that into the budget, but he ended up being exactly what we needed in the middle of the order. He was so consistent for us in his 3 seasons on the team. 30-plus home runs each year, 100 or more RBI each year, and an OPS just below 900 in all 3 seasons. He got himself that playoff MVP. Tovar is one of the few guys that we had for the entire run. I do believe Condon is another one as well. And then we had the president who came up this year. He actually played really, really well, 833 OPS. He would be a future centerpiece, probably replacing Marlon Jackson at some point if this kept going. One of my disappointments for this video is that Ethan Holiday ended up not factoring in at all. I promise you, he did not have a single good season in the minors. Even though he continued to improve, he was never MLB ready. And real quick on the pitching side, I did rely very heavily on relievers turned into starters like Ben Kasparias and, of course, Christian Scott, who I signed in almost every single video. But I would not have needed to lean on them for very long because I did a great job drafting some really, really promising arms, especially guys like Patrick Reyes, Ronan Harris. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get to see these guys play. Finley Simmons as well. I've been drafting and developing an insane pitching farm, a lot of good arms in here throughout this video. And I really transformed the entire farm system with guys like Joey Monticelli at first base, along with Lewis Ellis and Ryan Beavers, who I drafted back-to-back in the same class. We had Bob Zimmerman and Ray Lopez at third, and especially some incredible outfielders like Alfredo Leon and Danny Ash. Not to mention Raul Urban, who would have been elite defensively in center. So not only did we win the World Series, the trajectory of this organization is changed for the better, and I really think we're on the cusp of a dynasty. All of this was done with a budget of under $100 million. Obviously, I'm in the off-season now, so not all the contracts are here. I also think I could probably do it for even cheaper, maybe something like 55 or 60 million. That might be a future video. That's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subs before MLB The Show 26 drops. I'll see you next time. Peace.